This afternoon I was having a pretty good day, so I decided to ruin it by going on Twitter. It's part of my daily routine to check in on Twitter just to make myself mad, as every sane person does, no doubt, and today was nothing special, just endless piles of trash. But while dumpster diving, I found something pretty interesting and alarming. It's a series of posts from a popular streamer named Amaranth. She's massive on Twitch, I'm sure she needs no introduction, I'm positive you all are familiar with her work. She basically invented hot tubs, and on her personal account she made a series of tweets talking about her stalker. And this shit is fucking scary. It reads like something right out of a Stephen King novel. So I wanted to go over the tweets with all of you, as well as talk about the bigger problem of stalkers on Twitch. Because it's not exclusive to just Amaranth. I think Amaranth has had the most stalkers. She's had like 1,000 stalkers at this point, I think. She's had like an entire fucking football squad worth of stalkers, and that includes third string and bench players. She could fill up an entire Comic-Con convention center with just her stalkers. It's absolutely terrible, and again, it's not just Amaranth. Tons of streamers have talked about their personal experiences with the problem, and one that's always stuck out to me is a really frightening one. I won't name the streamer's name, but there's a streamer on Twitch who has had a problem with a member of her community for almost 4 years now, I believe, and this guy has flown down to her city uninvited, unannounced, to try and track her down and find her. And while doing that, even broke into another streamer's house while they were streaming, went on their stream and tried to use them to reach out to that streamer on their behalf to track her down for them. Absolute fucking lunacy. And they have also, the stalker has also written a manifesto that's over 400 pages long and still being updated to this day. An actual fucking Harry Potter's book worth of delusion and all about like dating the streamer and all kinds of wild shit in there. It's just straight up horrifying and downright sad. So now let's go through Amaranth's tweets today. This is her alt account. She says that her stalker traveled from Estonia, came to her city and camped out in a hotel with a line of sight to her P.O. box and spent over a month camping out daily at a Starbucks next to the P.O. box and streamed it the entire time. Typically to 0 viewers, but growing as he gained notoriety, and every time his account would be taken down, he would just make a new one. This is already so much to digest right here. 44 days and 33 minutes, according to Amaranth, and I'm guessing that's based on how long the stream was up for, based on VODs and all of that, so it was probably realistically a bit more than that, because I'm sure he was there longer off camera. So that is fucking terrifying. Not only was she being stalked, but he was doing it publicly to an audience. Mind-blowing. Camping out at a nearby Starbucks so that way he could be constantly monitoring the P.O. box, hoping to catch her. Like Elmer Fudd trying to set a trap for Bugs Bunny. But that's just the beginning. She said that he'd change his name by just adding more numbers to it, and by his own admission went full scorched earth and sold everything. He sold his house, his car, all his possessions, his cat, and by his own admission again, in publicly posted vlogs, a manifesto. The only thing he brought with him was phone, clothes on his back, and a saxophone, as well as the saxophone case. And he would play the saxophone in some live streams and in public places, and it allowed him to carry around a giant instrument case, which Amaranth said made her nervous because you can put weapons in an instrument case, and I honestly think it's a pretty reasonable fear to have because it makes no sense that he sold everything else except for a fucking saxophone and its case, unless he was planning on becoming like a traveling saxophone performer, like just going around and playing Careless Whisper forever. It makes no sense why he sold everything except that saxophone in its case. Which I agree is very weird, but I think the most concerning thing here is the fact that he sold all of his shit before moving from Europe to be near Amaranth and try and track her down. The fact that he sold everything prior to doing all of this is that kind of behavior that people do right before doing something drastic, like something life ruining and changing. The fact that he'll just cut all ties to everything he's ever owned like that, the whole nothing left to lose mentality, is absolutely fucking terrifying. She goes on saying that she would make it very clear that she didn't want to meet him, didn't want to be anywhere near him, but he would respond by just saying, "Liar, liar, fiance," and would make dancing videos reminiscent of Buffalo Bill dancing scene and send them to her. And then she posts a picture of it. This whole situation is deeply disturbing, and the fact that he would send videos to her privately is just super fucked up as well. literally just rubbing it in her face that he is stalking her and there's nothing she can do about it because the law enforcement wasn't acting very efficiently here, clearly. And then the picture she posts is also super eerie. It looks like something straight out of the SCP wiki. Like, it looks like a goddamn cryptid captured on photograph. It's just an awful, awful situation. She also briefly mentioned that he adopted a feral cat, which wasn't really seen again on the streams, and then says that on Monday the 13th, he streamed himself dressed up and carrying his musical instrument case and changed into formal attire and made the last mile journey to her house and cased the vicinity for 30 minutes, to which the cops declined to act. He streamed himself outside, mumbling about how he knew it was wrong, but he has to, and then he tried breaking in and tried to gain entry, to which Amaranth again called 911, says dispatch was rude, cutting her off, put her on hold, and it took 33 minutes for the 911 responders to finally get there. Amaranth did have armed personnel on standby at her residence, according to her, that would have acted if he successfully broke in, but luckily it didn't come down to that. Law enforcement did get there, he got arrested, got detained, and she says the embassy was contacted and he's currently not in Houston, and that's all she can share for now. Luckily this story has a somewhat happy ending. They got arrested and got kicked out of Houston, hopefully also put behind bars. But there's a lot more to talk about here that I'd like to get into, and that's the law enforcement's response to stalking. One thing that's remained consistent across every single story of a Twitch streamer sharing their personal experience with stalkers, the one thing that is a constant is that law enforcement doesn't do anything about it. In extremely rare cases, they'll allow them to get a restraining order, but even that's super uncommon, it seems. They just don't take it seriously. I understand, like, stalking and, like, trying to act on it as law enforcement is a pretty tough situation to be in because, it's not Minority Report where they can tell who's going to commit a crime before it happens or whatever. They're not Tom Cruise. And that's kind of the same thing here with stalking. They're trying to prevent a crime or an escalation without it having happened yet, so they don't have all of, like, the evidence to tell them, like, it's going to happen, so it makes it tough for them to actually act. But I really think in situations like this, they should be a lot more understanding and accepting of evidence. This guy streamed 44 days worth of continuous stalking and harassment, and it's all documented, all of it shared, and yet they still didn't take it seriously until he showed up at the residence, and even when he was there actively trying to break in, they didn't show up for 33 minutes and didn't take it seriously. There needs to be some kind of new way of handling this kind of situation, or it's going to continue and get worse. Another streamer named Sweet Anita also had a similar problem with a stalker, except law enforcement was somehow even more inept here when it came to the situation. This stalker would publicly threaten her, send her threatening messages about how he's gonna kill her, gut her, use a knife and slit her open, and just like crazy, unhinged shit. And in real life, would actually sit outside of her house and follow her around and even tried to assault her. And still, law enforcement didn't take it seriously for the longest fucking time. It's like law enforcement's hands are tied until they actually commit the crime and kill the person. But when there's this many red flags, why not act preventatively? Like, why not have a preventative measure in place? Like, okay, this guy is publicly making threats, sending these threats about how he's gonna kill her, and is actively sitting outside her fucking house. Maybe we should do something about this individual. So yeah, I just think there needs to be some kind of system in place to be a bit harder on stalking, where when there's this much evidence of like threats, and then like actually acting on some of the things they're saying in the real world, they need to take that more seriously and be harder on it. Like, if you actually show up, you're getting arrested. If you're within 5 miles of this person, you're getting arrested. Like I said, sometimes there's restraining orders, sometimes they trespass the individual, but even in those cases, it's pretty uncommon they even do that much. So I just think they need to be a little bit more intense on their stalking laws in order to prevent an actual tragedy from occurring. And it's happened before. There's plenty of cases where stalkers have been reported, law enforcement didn't act, and then the stalker ends up killing the victim. Most recently, I think it was last year, and I think this was in the UK, there was a teenager that reported a stalker 5 times and then even got fined 90 euros for wasting law enforcement's time, and then the stalker ended up killing them. A complete failure from the law enforcement there. And that's not an isolated case, it's happened before. I just think in general, there's more the law enforcement agencies can be doing to prevent something like that when it comes to stalking. And then another thing that I'd like to mention is why there seems to be so many stalkers on Twitch in particular. And I think that's because, and I've said this before, you're interacting directly with the streamer you're watching. So for mentally unwell individuals, they get this false sense that they're now friends, and in certain cases, lovers. So a lot of times you'll see these stalkers have the delusion that because they've donated to a streamer or they subbed to the streamer, they're now like romantically involved with each other. And that gives them some sense of entitlement. And when they realize that, you know, the streamer doesn't feel that way about them and doesn't even know they exist, they start to get mad, lash out, and then you see all of these fucking wild, crazy messages and these threats that they'll make and these meltdowns. And it's terrible. You hate to see it. It's absolutely terrible. But it's not like the streamer's fault or anything. That's entirely just because there's so many people on Twitch. Some of them are bound to be mentally unwell and take these parasocial relationships to an extreme level. Parasocial relationships are bad, no exceptions, but they're even worse when the person believes they have control over the streamer or possession of them because they've donated money. Now they're dating and all of this, and then they find out that the streamer is, you know, romantically involved with someone else. In the real world, they lose it, go wild, and then ends up in these crazy stalking situations or whatever. It's just a terrible situation that's only been getting worse as Twitch continues to grow. It's not really a problem with the solution, though. There's not a whole lot Twitch can do to prevent that because they can't control the mental health of its users, right? And it's not the streamer's fault who are just streaming and then get someone that keeps donating to them and thinks that they're best friends or they're in love or something because of the money they've given. Like, there's not much you can really do there other than acknowledge, like, hey, look, I'm just a streamer. You know, I appreciate the support and the generosity, but this doesn't make us friends. You know, we're not in love. You know, I don't know you. Ludwig had a whole video called "I'm Not Your Friend," where he just says, like, parasocial relationships are bad. I appreciate that you come to the streams and are generous, but I'm not your friend. And that's really all you can do as a streamer, but that's not going to solve the problem either. There's still going to be those people that cross that line and think that, oh, we're best friends now because I watch them every day or I give them money, and then it ends up in these very awful scenarios and like even creates stalkers in some cases. It's just bad all around, and I don't know the solution to it, but I just wanted to at least highlight that it is a problem, but will hopefully stop being a problem in the near future. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to talk about this whole subject, and that's about it. So yeah. What an interesting week for YouTube. A couple days ago, they did something I don't think anyone ever expected. They fought a giant company on behalf of a YouTuber. Something they've never done before. A world first here. Maybe you want to pat them on the ass and tell them good game. A great, great move from YouTube, finally. And then the next day, they made an absolutely horrible decision that made me want to cry, come, and puke. It is baffling how they could go from something that everyone loves to something that everyone hates in the matter of 24 hours. It's crazy. It's a real Jekyll and Hyde situation at YouTube. There's a team that makes some good decisions, some good shit that people like to see, and then there's a team that's more active than that team, the fucking boogeyman unit, that makes the worst possible decisions imaginable for the platform. So let's go over both. I want to start with the positive side first to cushion the yuckiness of the negative side. So this is actually a situation we followed since December with a YouTuber named Totally Not Mark. Mark is an anime and manga YouTuber who set a world record for fastest dead channel thanks to 150 videos being taken down in a single day by Toei Animations. They Thanos snapped the majority of his content away because they claimed his content infringed on their copyright and fair use. They don't believe in it. It's like Santa Claus to Toei. So he lost all 150 videos. That was a big part of his channel. I think at the time he was only left with like 60 or 70 videos on his channel after that. So it was a massive blow to him. And it's obviously extremely hard for an individual to fight against a company of Toei's size with as much money as they have. They can just toss their legal meat around as much as they want and not feel it. It's not the same for someone like Mark. So they were using their big fucking nuts and their big wallet to bully Mark and keep the videos down. So he had a very difficult time until 2 days ago. We got an update to the situation where Mark basically won for the most part against Toei because YouTube stood up for him and fought for him against Toei. And it actually revealed how petty Toei was. I'll give you like a brief overview of the situation, but I highly encourage you to check out Mark's video on it because he obviously goes into more detail. But he revealed that Toei actually violated YouTube's policy because initially Toei wanted to strike Mark's channel 150 times for each instance they believed that he infringed on their copyright. Now, for those that don't know, a strike is the worst thing that can happen to you on YouTube. It's like getting hit over the head with a sledgehammer. It's 3 strikes and your channel gets deleted. 150 strikes is what Toei wanted thrown against Mark. that wouldn't have only deleted his channel, that would have sent Mark straight to prison, banished him straight to the fucking Shadow Realm, sent him to hell. That is an absurd amount of strikes that they tried to throw at Mark all at once. They loaded up the cannon and fucking tried to blast him. But YouTube didn't let it happen. They said, no, we're not going to do that because we believe his content is most likely fair use. Like an argument could be made for it, so they initially didn't let Toei do that. So what Toei did is they went behind YouTube's back and used a different set of tools to manually go through and take down 150 videos, copyright block them. So he didn't get strikes, but Toei still got the videos taken down. And this was a complete violation of the YouTube policy. So when Mark finally did get a team at YouTube that wanted to help him and assembled the Avengers at the YouTube HQ, they noticed what Toei did and realized this is not okay, this is a violation. So then YouTube just wiped their ass with Toei's face. Like they full-blown just put their ass in Toei's asshole. They washed the blocks and came to the compromise where YouTube was going to block those 150 videos in Japan only, which, because Toei was arguing that it's not fair use by Japan law, YouTube said, okay, bet. Blocked in Japan. They're fine everywhere else. So now for the most part, Mark has all those videos back online everywhere except Japan, which he's not super upset about. And that concludes the Totally Not Mark vs. Toei anime arc. Now I think it is worth mentioning that Toei can still fight this, and I think there's a great chance they probably will considering how petty and out of touch they are. They could try and make a legal argument that the 150 videos are a complete violation of copyright law and they are not fair use, but they would have to argue that outside of Japanese law. They would have to prove that on like a global scale, that Mark is some kind of evil super villain mastermind pirate sailing the seven seas. He's crossed the Grand Line and is delivering illegal anime review and manga analysis. They could still try, I think they might, but for now, it's overall a victory for Mark, and I was happy to see this, and really happy to see YouTube for the first time actually standing up for a creator in the face of a massive corporation putting pressure on them. So, now that I've fed you the good shit, let me go ahead and give you your vegetables now. I'm going to give you a little coffee enema here, some gross shit. YouTube recently hinted that NFTs are coming to the platform. We don't know in what capacity, but it seems like YouTube really wants NFTs to be an integral part of the YouTube ecosystem. This came right after Twitter introduced the profile pic NFT system they have, where you can turn your fucking goofy profile pic into an NFT, and it's just like this hexagon. The NFT craze, it is an endless drain of misery. So yeah, YouTube is looking to bring NFTs to the platform and ignoring all problems. Like, instead of fixing things on YouTube, they're just introducing more fucking problems and things that people don't want. People still want dislikes back. No one's given up on that crusade. Everyone still wants dislikes back, and the only thing YouTube's done on it is double down saying they made the right call. And then after doubling down on the removal of dislikes, they then announced NFTs. Luckily, these two things are going to coincide greatly, because when they do bring the NFTs to the platform, it's going to have nothing but likes on it. You know, you won't be able to see if anyone disliked it. It's going to be 100% approval rate, baby, because dislikes are fucking gone. I still can't get over that, and after reading the article, it made me even more upset just how out of touch they are. And I don't think they're genuinely out of touch. I think they know exactly what they're doing. By hiding dislikes, it only helps corporations, and they know that. They keep bringing up this dog shit argument of the reason they removed it was because of targeted harassment campaigns where people mass disliked videos, which hurt creators' feelings. But that's such a small, awful example to use, and their solution doesn't even work, because the creator still sees when videos are mass disliked. They still see the dislikes. So who does it help? It doesn't do anything. The creator is still seeing that, hey, these people fucking hate me. But no one else can see that. So it's still just hurting the creator's feelings. Like, it doesn't do anything to solve the problem that they keep saying it was aiming to solve. All it does is help it look better. Help YouTube look better to advertisers and corporations. It's fucking gross, it's fucking silly, it's stupid, and it is still the worst change YouTube has probably ever made. It just blows my mind how they can have one team that does something super great, like what they did with the Totally Not Mark situation, and then a team like this that removes dislikes and introduces NFTs. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if YouTube in the next 5 or 6 years removes the ability to even upload videos yourself. You'd have to mint them as NFTs on the blockchain or something. Like, YouTube just becomes an NFT video sharing platform, and that's it. Like, imagine nothing but bored apes, but animated, and that's YouTube. Just sad, silly, stupid, upsetting shit. No one wants non-fungible tokens on YouTube. They can go funge themselves. No one is asking for this, and yet YouTube's bringing it anyway. Because right now NFT is that fat hotness. Everyone wants to get in on NFTs. Jimmy Fallon's popping off on Bored Apes. Gwyneth Paltrow's even got her own Goop line of Bored Apes. You know, everyone in the corporate space loves it, and so YouTube is following suit. So yeah, just wanted to talk about these two things here because it's been a pretty wild week for YouTube. That's about it. So yeah. 2 days ago, a great injustice was had in the cyberspace. Gotham was threatened with their most terrifying cyber attack yet. An unforgivable sin was committed in the holy battlegrounds of Apex Legends. I made a video thoroughly going over the topic 2 days ago, but I'll break it down real quick for you since we have a development here. So, there was a Apex Legends tournament hosted by an org called Fate Legion, and during the tournament, a teammate teabagged another teammate. So, it was a friend teabagging a friend as a joke, and they laughed about it. But you know who wasn't laughing? The tournament host. The man casting the tournament blew a fucking gasket once he saw the teabagging. He had a reaction to it like he had just watched his own house be set on fire. Just some kind of massive meltdown over this teabagging event, and then said that not only is the player, Dilly, the one who teabagged, banned, but the entire team is banned from the tournament and future tournaments because of the teabagging. And even when it was brought to his attention that they didn't teabag an enemy, it was two friends joking with each other on the same team, he said it didn't matter because teabagging your teammate isn't professional and it's toxic no matter what and they won't tolerate it. So going on this massive meltdown and this huge power trip, he made a mockery of both himself and the entire org that he represents. So they started getting slammed and jammed on Twitter, just getting dunked on left and right. And they got their ham steamed. But today, they released a statement with their account of the situation, and it is the worst doubling down I have ever seen. Oh, really? What was their statement? Check the Fate Legion Twitter. They made a statement about the Apex teabagging 20 minutes ago. Oh, this is fresh. Oh, we're on the cutting edge right now. This is, oh my god, this is actually one of those moments where it's like too long, didn't read. I'm not reading all that, but good for you, or sorry that it happened. How can you make such a huge statement off of an absolute embarrassment? Just say like, yeah, this was silly. We banned Apex Predator that goes by Dilly. The facts around the situation have been 100% altered to suit the creator's needs for the narrative he needed to start a riot on social media. Interesting spin. Going for the it's all lies approach, even though our caster literally said these things. I don't really know what context spins it differently. It has the exact moment that Dilly teabagged his teammate, and his initial response was, he's banned. All of Crazy Penguinz disqualified. But I guess we'll see. Maybe I'll be convinced. That's super weird, though, because in that clip, it shows your caster acknowledging Dilly's statements on it being his teammate. What do you mean he didn't provide any proof? Your caster even acknowledged it. He literally said, so it's your teammate, but it's still not okay. What do you mean? Oh, it's too small for you guys to read? You guys can't read this on stream? I'm just going to do summaries. So basically this first statement, this first paragraph, is saying that it was a heat of the moment thing and we're sorry about that, but we did decide to let them play it out and they received their prize winnings at the end. He was never given a formal ban, just a verbal one, which they would have overturned if Dilly provided any evidence, which he didn't, even though he did because the caster acknowledged that it was his teammate during the broadcast, so the evidence was clearly enough to convince the caster, but I'll digress. And then they say that Dilly altered the VODs in order to slander the tournament. Oh, okay, I'll just read it out loud. It'll save me some trouble. Having said that, we are willing to ignore the admin abuse he sent as opposed to banning him to rectify the heat of the moment commentating. Having said that, one of our members sent us a link to forum pages and other social media platforms where Dilly goes on a rant about the heat of the moment decision using his friends in influential positions to post on it to make a stir. He said there were no rules in place during the tournament, but that is false as we do have rules in place. Having said this, we acknowledge that our rules are broad and don't speak specifically to the act itself. We are currently rewriting them so it's easier to understand and apologize for the inconvenience we have caused to do this. The ban, however, went from unsportsmanlike conduct to his permanent ban due to his actions of trying to start a hate slander campaign against Fate Legion. His friend, who is an influencer on Twitter, Jake Lucky, Decided to get involved and ask everyone to passive-aggressively come join our community Discord and speak to us on the subject. Jake Lucky even goes as far as to drop owner's in-game name and other social media platforms to send what turned into a hate and death messages. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Dilly has never once spoken to Jake Lucky. This dude just peruses Twitter 24 hours a day and absolutely stumbled across this. I don't think they're friends. I think they are pulling this out of their ass. I don't think Dilly is connected to Jake Lucky. I don't think there's a chance of that. This is one of those stories that Jake always reports on. This could have been like a Shrek Super Slam drama, and Jake would have posted a tweet about it. That man is always on the hunt. Also, he dropped their Discord to speak to them on the subject, as well as their in-game names. I didn't see any of that. He made 2 tweets, and neither one of them had that, so I don't know where that's coming from. I guess maybe he deleted them. I just don't even think that happened. Speaking of misinformation and facts, let us dive into them, shall we? Bro, this is your official statement as a brand, as an org, and you're gonna speak like a pretentious Redditor? Make a formal statement, not this drivel. Speaking of information and facts, let us dive into them, shall we? As they adjust their glasses, cracking their knuckles. As it stands, here was the old writing on the rules as well as our space. We aim and strive to provide sportsmanship-based competitive gaming, which stands as a pillar of our business. So in our space description alone, it is implied that we are a space that believes in good sportsmanship, which sportsmanship is defined as fair and generous behavior or treatment of others, especially in a sports contest. By no means in any way, shape, or form is crouching up and down repetitively on an enemy or friend any kind of sportsmanship. Furthermore, it is not about the players themselves, but the viewers watching the content as well. Studies have shown that toxic behavior in gaming, such as teabagging and shooting bodies, is a contagious event that will not stop due to the fact that it has always been around, so it is here to stay. What am I reading? What in the fuck is... What is hurting my eyes right now? What? Teabagging and shooting bodies is a contagious event that will not stop due to the fact that it's always been around, so it's here to stay. It's not the fucking T-virus. Like, it's just banter, basically. It's in-game taunting. It's no... Do they ban emoting? Because I could also use an emote in their own tournament, and would that be considered toxic? Like, what the fuck do you mean? And it was a teammate he did it to. It was 2 friends joking. If you didn't have your neighborhood watchdog spectating Dilly at that time, nobody would have been affected. There would have been 2 friends that had a bit of a giggle, and that would have been it. Situation never exists. But because you had an overly... I don't even know what to call it. Like, overly justice-driven vigilante hosting your tournament, he made a big hoopla about it, and he made your whole org look silly, and now you're dying on a stupid hill. This is a terrible statement. This is an absolutely awful statement right now. There was nothing unsportsmanlike about it. He didn't do it to another team. I would absolutely understand if he did it to another team, you could make an argument that it was unsportsmanlike. Fair. I would absolutely give you that. He did it to his friend on his team. This doesn't work. This is full-blown artesian builds, but with a much smaller company. Why are you doing this? He's white knighting, but for nobody. For literally nobody. For himself. There's nobody here. There's not a victim. Like, I don't know what they're trying to say, like, not only for the treatment of others in the contest, but the spectators as well. The viewers watching the contest. Do you think all of your viewers, when they saw Dilly crouch up and down on his teammate's death box, just fell out of their chair, clawing at their own eyes, trying to forget what they just saw, like a traumatic experience? And so this whole paragraph here was supposed to be about correcting misinformation, which they didn't do. In the first paragraph of your statement, you're saying that Dilly slandered you and misrepresented you, and the facts are not there. It is manipulated, it is fraudulent. And in your paragraph where you're supposed to prove that it's fraudulent, you don't. In fact, you prove how vague and unenforceable your rules are. Because sportsmanship can be defined any way you want. It was him and his friend joking around. Like, no one was affected. So there was no sportsmanship violation. And then you go into this weird sentence about teabagging and shooting bodies being contagious and that it's never going to stop, as if it's some kind of like the plague. Like the bubonic plague of gaming. Listen, they wrote this in 5-point font. I don't know what to tell you. I'm reading it to you, okay? So just be patient as we digest this. This would be like punishing a pop-off of one of our Smash players. If that happened, I'd go nuts. Yeah, I'd go wild. This makes it a package deal that makes the action in general toxic due to the back-end nature that is used to demoralize players due to lack of skill. When players perform the act, they usually accompany it with negative wording to put other players down, regardless if they can hear or not. The only thing this action does is to try and assert one's dominance over another. How is this kind of behavior condoned? This doesn't even apply. It was his teammate, his friend. They were in a voice call, talking, joking. It wasn't used to demoralize a player due to lack of skill, nor was it accompanied with negative wording. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It was so... It just really grinds my ass to see a company kill themselves so publicly and so avoidably, like with artesian builds. I would say this is like on par, not as bad, because the company's not as strong, but like this is still just as tone deaf and misguided. It blows my mind. Like, how do you have a business when you're this out of touch? It saddens me to see high-end influencers and gaming media outlets posting stories on this with no fact-checking at all, of which you have so far provided none, by the way. In your statement all about misinformation and presenting the facts, you have presented none. You have only listed that you have a rule by your own admission that is too vague, and it doesn't apply to the situation. So there is no misinformation then, is what I'm gathering. These were the facts. Misinformation people use is like this ace in the hole kind of thing. Like when you play that card, you win. Like, no, it's misinformation, so I win. But you didn't prove anything here. The spread of misinformation has gotten so bad and out of control that Jake Lucky and Dilly are now being attacked for being the ones to ban, when in fact it was not. To clarify, Dilly and Jake Lucky had nothing to do with Fate Legion and the tournaments we organize and host. So disingenuous, what actually happened is Twitter brain-rotted zombies saw Jake Lucky's post, and people on Twitter are too fucking stupid to realize he was posting about a different org, so they messaged Jake asking why he'd ban them and be so soft. And now they're trying to make it sound like because the misinformation's gotten so bad, even they're being targeted, when it's a few rogue, dumb assholes. It's not a real thing here. They just posted misinformation to the point that they are now seeing backlash about their own posts about us. So no, they did not have anything to do with Dilly's ban. The reason it's taken us so long to release a statement was due to the fact of the riot these two started, with the sad reality that this post was made about an hour after the tournament. So instead of taking the clip he made for Twitter and submitting it as proof, he decided to take it to social media instead to have the people fight his appeal for him. He did. He went to you initially, and your caster acknowledged it. He literally said, I don't care if it's your teammate. It doesn't matter if it's your teammate, it's still toxic. And when challenged on it, he shut down the lobby, doubled down and saying it's still toxic if it's your own teammate. You can't teabag your own teammate. So he knew. Dilly took it to him first. To clarify to all, we are brand new to the tournament organizing, which was started about 3 months ago. We here at Fate Legion are not perfect, but strive to do our best to give a quality service within the entertainment and gaming industry. So to the accusations that we are some big tournament host currently is false. That I, the owner, or Fate Legion members have any power or authority to ban players from Apex Legends tournaments or games that are not hosted by Fate Legion is false, or that sexual assault was even thought about and the ban is false. If that's like vaguely talking about my video, I only mentioned that the timing is impressive because I just talked about that whole big hoopla on Twitter about teabagging being akin to sexual assault. No one's accusing them of that. I have not seen anyone say anything about that. Nor have I seen anyone saying that Fate Legion has the power to ban them from Apex. And also, they're underselling themselves. As far as I understand, Fate Legion is also one of the only orgs hosting moderately decent-sized tournaments. So, it's not that there's some, dumb, stupid org like they are right now. one of the few orgs hosting actual tournaments for high-level players outside of the ALGS or official tournaments. At this point, Dilly and Jake Lucky have broken Electronic Arts User Agreement in Chapter 6 Rules of Conduct sub.4567, 23, and 25, all for the purpose of showcasing a heated remark that was not set in stone and proven with their finished participation with the small Fate Legion tournament in question, as well as paid out in full earnings for the podium to finish. Oh my god. They did not. They're busting out the terms and conditions. I'll look those up, I'm curious. Chapter 6 of Electronic Arts User Agreement. Interfere with or disrupt another player's use of the EA service includes disrupting the normal flow of gameplay chat dialogue with the EA service, for example, using vulgar, harassing language, being abusive, excessive shouting, spamming, flooding, or hitting the return key repeatedly. You actually think that applies? Okay, Fate Legion, let's play by those rules. Your caster did this one, using vulgar or harassing language, being excessive, and shouting. He did that on stream, publicly, in your own professional tournament. So he broke a rule conduct. Ban him. Harass, threaten, bully, embarrass, spam, or do anything else to another player that is unwanted, such as repeatedly sending unwanted messages, personal attacks about race, sexual orientation. What? This also didn't happen because it was his teammate. This is crazy. That is the reality of the situation at hand. How powerful. What a big man behind this keyboard. Wasn't that one of your big statements on stream? You can hide behind this, but you wouldn't do it in the real world. He's really loving that keyboard right now to be super tough. Jesus Christ. Why couldn't you just take an L? You didn't even defend yourself. We at Fate Legion would like to apologize to the gaming community for the disruption this has caused you. As new tournament organizers, we simply wanted to put on the best and most respectable tournaments around, but came up short in our logistics due to the excitement of being granted the opportunity to host Apex Legends private lobbies. Again, we apologize for the turmoil caused by this incident and will strive to do better. This should have been your whole statement. This last paragraph, not all of this in the middle, where you play like Batman. This whole misinformation side arc didn't work because you didn't even provide evidence that there were misinformation. You literally just confirmed that the facts were right. You screamed misinformation and just confirmed the facts that we all know. I don't know what the fuck the point was. What a terrible statement. What is a safe environment for gaming? It's about teaching young players how to be good sportsmen, reinforcing positive communication in gaming communities worldwide, educating on polite commentary on all social platforms, and about having a good attitude. Your caster failed. What do you mean polite commentary? Dude was mauling hard, using vulgar language, and harassing, and engaging in arguments. I wouldn't necessarily say that's positive. That doesn't make me feel safe. I think that would make players afraid. Like, any minute now, your caster could hit a bong rip and just go in on someone for something really trivial. That doesn't sound safe. That is absolutely not sportsmanlike. He hit a bong rip in the same stream, I heard. I haven't seen the clip, but I heard that people started posting him ripping bongs. Jeez, wow, he sounded like an actual narc. I heard people were floating clips around of him taking bong rips on stream during the tournament. Which, again, isn't professional. See, now, here. This you could have used as an example of, okay, he was being mean in the chat, and that influenced our decision. But that never came up, because your caster engaged in this argument with him. You guys both went back and forth. But this would have been a point to you saying, like, it wasn't just the teabagging. His response to it is what made us, enforce the ban or something. Then it's like, okay, so he was in Twitch chat, understandably upset after the outburst from your caster, publicly shaming him, banning them. Okay, he used vulgar language. That was against the term, against your rule. Fair enough, but your caster did it too. Over nothing in the first place. There was no violation. He's rightfully upset. But okay, he violated one of your rules with the vulgar language. I don't know what the fuck they keep posting here. I don't know why they keep posting this. Oh, just to prove that they paid him $15? That was just never even I didn't see anyone questioning that. Was that something people were wondering? Did they get paid? How is paying $15 out, acquit you of everything. Like, it's just not that wasn't what people were upset about. It was banning an entire team for teabagging a teammate, their own teammate. No one cares. No one cares. No one asked. Minecraft Twitter, what's up with that, huh? Wacky, goofy shit going on there. This is probably the millionth video talking about Minecraft stands on YouTube, but I wanted to kind of talk about something that just happened that's kind of got my ass greased up a little bit. Now, I'll just break it all down for you, give you the full lore update, although I'm sure most of you know. On Twitter, one of the biggest, most toxic communities is the Minecraft stan community, with people that are extremely obsessed with Minecraft content creators on the internet. And this community eats itself alive. This shit is actual cannibalism. If you see a Minecraft stan on Twitter, just assume that they've tasted human flesh before. They're like little piranhas or catfish, just constantly eating shit for no reason. They just go out of their way to make themselves as miserable as possible and find things to be upset about. And it's usually the things they love the most. They absolutely murder the content creators that they're obsessed with. If anything goes even slightly awry with the perfect image they have of their Minecraft YouTuber, they lose their fucking mind about it and go on absolute Twitter rampages and trend everything about it. So recently this happened with TommyInnit. TommyInnit, very popular Minecraft player. He's a 17-year-old kid. And these bloodthirsty warriors on Twitter recently blasted him multiple times over the course of a couple days, and then he finally made an announcement saying that it's just been too much for his mental health and he's having to go to therapy now and doesn't really want to engage online anymore, which is pretty extreme considering he's a 17-year-old kid. So they successfully bullied a child for nothing. With backlash like this, you would have expected it to be something extreme that caused it, like a video of Tommy slitting the throat of a puppy, or Tommy doing something crazy like saying he doesn't like BTS music. But it wasn't anything like that. He got all of this shit happening to him for a very lighthearted joke, which we'll get to in a minute. But I want to explain, he's not just going to like up and quit the internet as far as I know. It's just mainly targeted towards Twitter. He no longer wants to be there, which is completely understandable. Twitter is the most miserable place on the planet. It'd be more fun to live in an active war zone than it would be to spend an hour on Twitter. Truly vile garbage with absolute trash people on that platform. And I want to explain one more time just how ridiculous the Minecraft stands can be. There's entire pages dedicated to just keeping track of what Minecraft YouTubers are listening to on Spotify at all hours of the day. So when it gets to a song they like, they can make 50 tweets about how excited they are that their favorite Minecraft YouTuber is listening to it. It's extremely unhealthy. And then they'll turn around and go from this, the worship, to absolute hatred and vilifying them and calling their favorite Minecrafter a demon and a Satanist, a racist, a homophobe, all kinds of truly deplorable titles that they'll just immediately snap onto them. Just absolutely wild stuff. It's extremely sad to see. One of the saddest things though in particular, and this doesn't really have anything to do with the current situation, for a while there was a trend among TommyInnit stans and Tubbo stans to sexualize both of them and make them have like romantic fanfic together, despite both of them being underage. So it's really bad stuff that has come from these stans. Of course, not all of them are like this, nor are they all horrible people or anything like that. I'm not trying to make just a pure generalization, but it has led to so many horrible things for the content creators and really Twitter as a whole. Pretty much anytime anything happens with a Minecrafter, it trends #1, blocking out actual important things in the world. So it really is truly just an overall detriment to have this level of celebrity worship be commonplace and normalized on Twitter. I really think parents need to do a better job of raising their children and monitor their online activities, because what's happening is these YouTubers are unintentionally raising a whole generation of kids. And if it's not the YouTubers doing it, it's the children in the fandom raising other children on Twitter to join the fandom like a fucking cult. It's like Lord of the Flies shit with children raising each other, which is why you're having things like this happen. So let's get to the TommyInnit situation that brought all this up. And it really wasn't just like one thing in particular, but it really started when Tommy made a joke about Jay Schlatt. The tweet's been deleted and I actually can't find a screenshot of it, but basically he replied to a tweet saying like, Jay Schlatt's a bad guy, mockingly. And then the Minecraft stans got really upset about this, so they trended something called Tommy Neg, meaning Tommy negative, so it was just them shitting all over Tommy to make it trend, so you could just see nothing but shit on Tommy, because they didn't like that he was making light about Jay Schlatt. Jay Schlatt is apparently a very problematic figure in the Minecraft community. I don't know what the fuck he did, but it sounds like he must have beat up everyone's dad and then fucked all of their moms in that community. They hate him. They have labeled him every awful thing that you can possibly think of, from a racist to a homophobe to a Nazi to a transphobe. All of it has been slapped onto Jay Schlatt. I have no idea what the fuck went on there, but then the community got riled up and they were trying to cancel Tommy because of his friendship with Jay Schlatt. Basically, what stans want is complete control over their favorite Minecraft creator. They want to treat him like a fucking doll or an action figure that they can move around and do what they want. Like, they're the puppeteers and they're the marionette dancing on the strings for him. So they wanted him to end his friendship. They were talking about how hurt they were by Tommy. I swear to God, if they found out Tommy's mom made an offensive joke in the late 80s, they would demand Tommy kill her in order to earn their forgiveness. It is wild how much control they want over the Minecraft content creators. I honestly don't know how more of them haven't snapped at the stans, and how some of them even encourage the behavior. They get eaten alive by it. They're literally encouraging a swarm of locusts that peel their fucking flesh off at the drop of a hat over nothing. I don't know why it isn't taking a firmer stance. I understand there's not a whole lot of things you can do, and I know a lot of them do try and be responsible with the stans and like the power of it and try and point out bad behavior. But I think just a blanket statement, just completely fucking stop stanning, you know, just block every stan or something, like, I don't know. But it's only with Minecraft. Mr. Beast is 3 times the size of even the biggest Minecraft player, and he has none of this shit. Mr. Beast community is like the nicest on the internet. They're constantly uplifting each other, aside from the people that try and scam. But, I mean, that's always going to happen. I mean, especially nowadays with like NFTs and shit. You can't do too much about that. But Mr. Beast community is significantly larger than any Minecraft community, and you don't see any of this from them. So there's clearly a way of doing it. It's just, I can tell you the way they're currently going about it, which is like encouraging it and like nodding at it, like, hey, maybe trend this on Twitter, is the wrong way of doing it. Because then you'll have shit like this happen, where a good guy like Tommy gets fucked in the ass by the community. It's crazy. But again, I'm getting sidetracked. This is actually a pretty passionate topic for me, because it's so unhealthy both for the Minecraft player and the people that obsess over him. It's not good for any of the parties involved here at all. They're both constantly like a parasitic relationship and constantly miserable because of it. But anyway, so after this whole Twitter debacle with the Jay Schlatt joke, Tommy had a stream. And in the stream, the chat went nuts. In the stream, he asked the community to educate him on some things and just shed some light on some topics he wanted more information about. The chat was constantly calling him homophobic, questioning why he wasn't more politically active, as if that's his responsibility to be a fucking political activist for you. He's a Minecraft player. He doesn't need to, also go with your exact ideals on how things should be in the world. Tommy has done everything he can to go out of his way to be as inclusive as possible to everyone from every community. I think he's an actual really good guy. And to be completely shit on, even though he's done so much for so many people, is just absolutely repugnant. The chat from some of the shit I've seen was awful. And during the stream, that's when he mentioned that the bullying on Twitter has just gotten too bad, and he's getting therapy now as a way of coping with it and getting over it, to try and be a happier person in light of all of this shit. And to no one's surprise, Twitter didn't lay off the gas. In fact, they used this against him, mocking him for getting therapy. Some of them even saying he has no right to get therapy. He's not a victim. The people he hurt with his friendship are the victims, and the jokes that he's made, those are the victims, not Tommy, so he doesn't deserve therapy. I wish I could find some of these tweets that I was reading, but unfortunately a lot of these cowards deleted them now after more people became aware of this awful situation they created. But it is really some of the worst things you can imagine from a community that's supposed to be all positive and all about educating Tommy on how to be a better person, when they themselves are horrible people. Horrible people, the things I was reading. And then the weirdest thing is, like, I'll click on some of these and then I'll read some of their tweets and it's absolutely awful. It's just hateful. Like, on this one in particular, there's this tweet. I don't know if this is a joke or not, but even if it is, then you're an absolute hypocrite, because you're mad at Tommy for jokes that are insensitive, and then you'll say something like this, and that's okay. You even use a homophobic slur, and apparently that's okay for you to do. Like, I don't get it. It's like these Minecraft police officers, professional Twitter warriors, are actually not that great of people themselves. As always, don't go harass anyone in the video or anyone that participated in any of this. Don't do that shit. That makes you just as bad, if not worse, than the people that actually participated, so just fucking don't. And this isn't the only account like this. This isn't the most popular tweet, obviously, from all of that. In fact, this one, I think, only ever got up to like 2K likes before it was deleted, or if it even got deleted. I just can't find it now. All I could find was this old screenshot of it. But there were multiple accounts where you'd click on it and you'd see some truly awful vitriol where they were just spewing some genuine hateful shit. The things that they were saying they didn't like, you know, trying to spread positivity, and then you go on their actual Twitter and it's nothing but hate and negativity. Just all around, this shit made me really mad today. Like I said, I think Tommy's a good kid. I think he had a lot of success at a very young age, and I don't think he let it get to him. Like, I feel like he's not going to become a douchebag or anything, even though he's already a multi-millionaire with a following of like tens of millions of people constantly worshiping him. He's still able to stay level-headed. And he recognizes that Twitter's a horrible fucking place, and they bullied him off of it, and now are mad that he's off of it. So when he left Twitter, or at least said that he wasn't going to be as active on it, Twitter fucking attacked him for that, immediately proving why he didn't want to be there anymore. Like, it's a community of people that just love to hate, and that's all they like to do. It's people that always want a constant enemy, a villain to attack. And for some reason, they choose their heroes to do it to. It makes no sense to me. This happens to Dream once a week at least. And it's happened to other Minecraft players as well. It's just crazy to me. And it's really upsetting to see it, to be honest. I think there needs to be like an age limit on Twitter, man. Like, you shouldn't be allowed on Twitter if you're under the age of 18. Because it is just not healthy for anybody letting kids on that platform. It is just fucking not. It's bad for everyone's mental health. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about this whole thing because this one just fucking blew me away. And that's about it. So yeah. I just heard about the H3 vs. iDubbbz defamation lawsuit and spent the last 3 or so hours learning about it and getting into the nitty-gritty, figuring out all the bits and pieces and getting all the morsels of information I could find to really put the nipple clamps on it and figure out what all the hoopla is. And it is a real thing. The pugilistic legal paperwork has been filed against iDubbbz, so now they're gonna duke it out, not with knuckle sandwiches, but with extremely expensive litigation. Off rip, before I even get into the spaghetti and meatballs of the actual story here, there is just something that pets my peeves. There is something that grinds my gears, greases my cheeks so much I can't resist yapping about it briefly. When I was in the trenches digging around for information about what all of this is about, I kept seeing people say that I refuse to cover these kind of things for a variety of different reasons. I'm ignoring it, this and that. I don't know how many more times I need to say this. I am just really not online that much these days. The only streams I watch are like the Summer Games Fest and like events like that, but I don't watch streams. I don't watch a lot of YouTube, and I don't go on Twitter, like, at all. I still have Twitter because I send and reply to DMs through there sometimes for like events, like Tyler One's League of Legends tournament. I heard from him on Twitter DM, so I have it for reasons like that. But I don't, like, doom scroll Twitter and see a bunch of things anymore. Look at the last tweet I made. So, like, I don't see a lot of these things that are going on anymore. But for some reason, everyone jumps to, oh, he must be ignoring it. He's got to be ignoring it. We can really tell a lot about this guy from the things he refuses to cover. I just don't see them. The things I do hear about come from my friends sending them to me, or when I stream chat telling me about them, putting them on my radar. But if neither of those two avenues show it to me or tell me about it, I just never hear about it. And I'm not even a fucking streamer anymore, not full time. I'm like a semi-retired streamer. I stream sometimes. And sometimes I'll stream like 3-4 days in a row. But basically what I do now is I just play like old school games, like a lot of retro games or a lot of Steam cum dumpster games, like actual trash. So like I'm not even really a streamer, so I don't even see a lot of that either. So like it's not me avoiding certain things for a nefarious reason. I just literally don't ever hear about it, so I never learn about it. Now, there is some stories that I do hear about and get really invested in, like Bricks and Minifigs versus Reckless Bin. I've been very glued to that one, had my finger on the pulse of. But that was something I was put on my radar by friends and stream chat. So genuinely, I am just not online that much, so I don't see a lot of it. So with that out of the way, I did spend like the last 3 hours learning about this defamation lawsuit between H3 and iDubbbz because that did sound pretty concerning. Because there's always been like an unwritten rule on the internet, not just YouTube, where if there's beef online, it stays online. And you handle it online without, going over that threshold, the event horizon of trying to use litigation to silence your opponent or something like that. That had always been etched in the stone tablets, the fucking 10 commandments of online discourse. And now all of a sudden, I'm hearing about H3 suing iDubbbz for defamation. So obviously I wanted to hear more about that. And after diving in, hitting that cannonball into the pool, I learned he has a lot of active lawsuits. I think it's 5, maybe 6 against other streamers and YouTubers. So it's a bit of a rampage he's been on. I knew about one before all this, which was against the Snark community. That I did hear about, and that one made a lot of sense to me, actually. The Snark community, from what I recall, was doing some diabolical, harassing, stalking stuff, sending CPS. I remember that, and Human Skulls. Those things I recalled from the Snark community, so it made sense that he would pursue litigation there, because that is highly illegal fucking psychopath behavior. So that one I remember, and that one made sense to me. But when I was learning about these other ones, granted I haven't dove too deep into all those, because this is clearly a lot. I was mainly focused on the defamation one, but man, Ethan Klein has become like the Nintendo of YouTubers. He is extraordinarily litigious. Anyway, enough blabbering. What started this defamation lawsuit was this iDubbbz stream.
Okay, this is my watermark for the stream. I don't want any of my content being stolen. Got another Kalshi ad? I'm sorry, Fazium. We're all getting Kalshi ads these days. It's okay. So I do want to say I don't agree with what's being said in this comment here. But I'm putting it on screen because I think it should be addressed, because it's a big, bold accusation that's very fucked up.
It is very fucked up. And it's despicable that he would think it's a good idea to post that there while knowingly aware that it's not true. So the message isn't Ian's, this comes from Destiny, and he found this screenshot and he kept it on screen for a very long time. And he said he didn't agree with it, but thinks it needs to be addressed because it's so fucked up. It is a terrible stream. Just giving it to you real blunt, real raw. It is no good. And I'm no stranger to getting shit-talked by iDubbbz. He has said some very nasty, very untrue things about me on his broadcast as well. But what is being reported in regards to this stream isn't exactly telling the whole story. Now, when I first heard of this lawsuit, I was reading a bunch about it, but I wanted more information, directly associated with it to make sure I wasn't getting, fraudulent or misleading shit fed to me. So I reached out to someone whom I know is on the H3 team, and Ethan did hear about that, so he did talk directly about me on his show and challenge me on a few things, and I did eventually get to talk directly with Ethan, and I shared my full perspective on things and the problems I had around it and my concerns, and got his perspective on things to see if there's any misunderstandings and such. Ultimately, I don't think we fully saw eye to eye on this, which, that's going to happen. I fully understand that this is a very emotionally charged subject for him after everything him and his family went through with Snarkers in particular. I know that the CPS and the Human Skulls incident are a legitimately traumatizing thing, the fraudulent CPS call. I get how inexcusable and abhorrent that is. I really do. But I just truly don't believe that this lawsuit is in any way, shape, or form helpful to anyone. Outside of the lawyers, they're fucking smiling ear to ear. They're salivating right now, literally drooling with a bib on. But it's harmful to, I think, literally everyone involved, and does have potential ramifications for others way outside of it. I have never and will never be a fan of extreme litigation, and I have always been vocally advocating against creators going that nuclear path, and I always will. Of course, there are cases where it is understandable. Like I said, going after the snarkers that sent a fraudulent CPS thing through and the skulls and stuff, that one I do understand. But this one, I could never support that. And I just can't see the real just cause behind it. And I think it is a terrible example for other creators in the space to follow, where maybe they believe that even though this is about like a Canadian defamation lawsuit, well, maybe they can try their luck in the States. You know, it's not like defamatory lawsuits are exclusive to Canada. There's better protections here, no doubt, but still, if they take from this that maybe the way to fight battles online is to go the litigious route, well, then it's just a huge mess across the board. I think it is just a very bad precedent. Even if, you know, the lawsuit doesn't end in a victory for him, this way of engaging with discourse, I think, has always been frowned upon, but for some reason is starting to get some more support behind it, and I just fully disagree with it. I think that this is genuinely just a, like, big threat across the board to just the entire space. Like, if discourse becomes, you know, fearful of, like, litigation flying back and forth, it's going to stifle a lot of voices and stifle some very, like, legitimate criticism down the line. It's just not something I want to see become commonplace. Now, I did also have a brief conversation with iDubbbz about this as well, letting him know that this really is a horrible thing that he did to try and make his point. And he agreed. He said that it was a legitimately awful thing that he did to make that point, and that it was a genuine, sincere apology that he was issuing and how regretful he was from it. So I did have a conversation with both sides of this to make sure I had like a full, clear picture of where everything was and what this was all about.
I don't know how it works in Canada, if the complaint is public or what. But if you look at it, he emphasizes throughout that he does think it's a serious accusation that needs to be investigated, and that he doesn't think it's a joke, right? Now, I know people are like, well, why don't you sue Destiny for saying it? Well, Destiny made it immediately. First of all, this is a comment from Destiny, like, made in passing. Ian put it on his screen for 2 hours during his main broadcast. Destiny made it clear that he was not being serious, right? Pretty much immediately after writing it. Like, nobody was like, yo, Destiny made this claim that Ethan molested his children. Oh, shit. No, people knew that when Destiny said it was like, he was just being a dickhead. Or, I mean, he was being a giant fucking piece of shit, right? But he immediately afterwards made it clear that he didn't actually think that. But Ian took that, and just because you're showing what someone else said doesn't make it not defamation, because you're showing essentially this accusation bare of context and also kind of saying that you think it's true, right?
Now, after hearing Ethan explain that, I actually made the noble sacrifice of going back and watching the entire iDubbbz stream segment with this in it when he was talking about it. Boy, howdy. I'm not a hero. It was brave, but I don't need your flowers. That was agonizing. It was heinous, even. It was brutal. This whole segment where he was talking about that, I think, was really, really rough. But I don't recall at any point throughout it him actually trying to argue that it's a legitimate thing or trying to convince his audience that it's real. So I know one of the big things is that it came from iDubbbz, who has actually met Ethan and his family. So there's like this air of credibility around him saying something like this, but that's just not true. He's not even trying to say anything about it is credible, even outright says that it's not, that he doesn't agree with it. So he's not trying to present it as a real argument based on, you know, any of his experiences knowing Ethan and his family.
Also, I will say that I think Ethan Klein is terrified of this guy. So it's just kind of like legit. It is to me, it's super funny that he has so much smoke for everyone that he thinks he can bully, but the person that he's fucking terrified, he just keeps very overtly running from. And it's like, yeah.
Now, while Ethan is 100% correct that iDubbbz says that this is a big allegation that Ethan should be addressing, he's not doing it earnestly, or at least I don't think he was. It's actually really kind of hard to tell. The whole segment was fucking awful, and the point he was trying to make was really dog shittily done. But what he's trying to say is that clip right there at the end, where Destiny said this extremely outrageous, outlandish, disgusting thing about Ethan, and yet Ethan doesn't have smoke for him, but he does for the other people that he's gone after through lawsuits. I'm pretty sure that's the point he was trying to make by putting that on screen, like, look, Destiny has said something absolutely despicable, yet you don't have that same energy for him as you do for the others. Unless I've blanked out and like erased moments from my memory from this segment, I don't recall him saying that this is like a serious thing he believes in and is presenting it as such. Like about Ethan is this, and this is a real allegation that really has a lot of water to it. Now, this doesn't change the fact that what iDubbbz did here is completely awful. To try and make this point using that kind of comment with something as monstrously evil as that is just so fucking low. It is. But I don't believe it's how Ethan is necessarily explaining it to everyone, where iDubbbz is really, believing in this. iDubbbz came over to my house, he met my family, now he's going out there saying these things. It is extremely scummy because he did meet his kids and everything, and now he's putting a comment out there like that. That is very scummy, but he's not using it to try and make this claim that Ethan is those things. He's trying to use that to show that Destiny has said something so fucking terrible, yet you are not approaching him with the same energy you have everybody else. That is the point he was trying to make, I think, throughout that segment, at least from everything that I saw when watching it. Granted, it was very hard to sit through, but I'm pretty sure that's what he was trying to get at with that there. But I think that was a terrible way of going about it. Now, Ethan also addresses why he's not suing Destiny as well, and he's saying because Destiny cleared up that he wasn't being serious right away. I don't understand that. I'm not going to lie. That's not making sense to me. Can't wrap my noodle around it. It's not computing. I think it is a very disgusting statement. 100%. He's not wrong for feeling like this is a terrible thing that's being said about him. That is a line you don't cross, talking about people's children in a manner like this. It's gross. It is gross. So then why is this defamation lawsuit reserved exclusively for iDubbbz with a nice big bow on it, but not also extended to Destiny, the genesis of that comment? Does that not just prove the point that I believe iDubbbz was trying to make in the first place, which is Destiny, for some reason, can say these atrocious, abhorrent things about Ethan, and for some reason, Ethan doesn't have the same anger towards Destiny as he does someone like iDubbbz. Now, I guess with iDubbbz, you could then say, well, iDubbbz actually did meet his children and stuff, so it's an extra level of fucked up, which is fair. I do completely agree. It does add another fucked up rancid layer to this lasagna here, where he did actually know Ethan and his family, and would use a comment like that to try and make his statement about, like, being soft on Destiny or whatever. But I still just don't understand why Ethan is willing to just be like, yeah, but Destiny, cleared up that he wasn't being serious. He was just goofing around. He was just being a dickhead. What? If the reason truly is that Canada's laws around defamation are significantly more lax, and thus you have a case in Canada, but not the US, then to me that tells me that it's not really a defamation case worth pursuing. And if you're not going after Destiny for these comments, but you will for iDubbbz trying to make a different point about it, again, I want to make it clear. I think the way iDubbbz went about doing this point is fucking atrocious. I don't know how much more clear I can make. But he wasn't trying to argue the legitimacy of the claim or anything like that. It was to show that you're very soft on Destiny, but not others, and used that outrageously gross comment as an example of it. But if you're going after iDubbbz solely because you know you can get a defamation case win because of Canada's laws not being as protective as the US's, that's why you don't go after Destiny, then that to me says that you are just trying to take advantage of those laws, the lax nature of those laws in Canada, to get revenge on someone that has wronged you.
I said from the beginning that if people want to go after my children, then, the rules of engagement have changed forever. And that's what I said then. And when, when Ian broadcast this, I sent him a cease and desist because, there's certain things that you don't say and you don't do and lines you don't cross. And they flaunted it. They didn't take it seriously. And
I totally understand that. If someone is going to cross that line, going after, like, your children or your family, I get being upset about that. Absolutely. But you're saying that the rules of engagement have changed for everyone but Destiny? Because he is the one that made the comment, and you're like totally just okay with being like, but he cleared up that he wasn't serious. He cleared up he was just being a dickhead. It's just not making sense. And if iDubbbz throughout that stream segment was going on and on about how like actually serious this is and how much he really believes in it, trying to convince his audience that it's true, trying to like lead some kind of like investigation against you, like another CPS visit, like another fraudulent visit from CPS, then I would totally understand pursuing like litigation against that to stop it. Now, but from what I saw in that stream, there was nothing of the sort, and he did outright say that he doesn't believe it, and that he was only saying that it should be addressed as a way of pointing to you not wanting to engage with Destiny because you're afraid of Destiny. At least that's how it seemed from all of that garbage I sat through there. I'm pretty sure that's what he was getting at. Now, he does mention a cease and desist here, which they did send a cease and desist to iDubbbz, and it does seem like iDubbbz was fucking filled with jubilation upon receiving it. I've seen a couple of clips where he was like really nonchalant about it, almost seemed kind of happy about it. Maybe he thought it'd be like a big boom of exposure or something. I really don't know who would celebrate something like that. But yeah, it seemed like he wasn't taking it seriously. And he did eventually come out and say like he really regrets doing this segment and like how bad it was, and that he did make like an apology for doing it, thinking he went too far. But it did take a while. And it's worth mentioning that his community, iDubbbz, like his stream chat and like the people watching iDubbbz, were not supportive of his actions with showing that comment and trying to make that point using something so heinous. It's not like his audience was eating it up and really celebrating what he did here. His own audience was turning against him for doing that, from what I saw. Now again, I've only learned about all this after the fact, so maybe some of like the positive stuff was scrubbed or deleted, but a lot of what I can find was people in his audience really didn't agree with him doing this.
I don't see how you can say that I'm not justified when somebody's who's your former friend who's been to your house and met your children is broadcasting this as a silly, it's just silly. Ethan needs to address this little minor claim that he molested his own children and he's a pedophile. Is that funny? I don't know. Is that a joke? Is that free speech? I don't think so. Then the other thing I hear is like, this is a grave threat against free speech. No, it's not. Defamation laws exist in every major Western country, because you can't just say people molested their children. That's not free speech. That's not protected speech.
And good thing iDubbbz didn't. That would be the comment that was left by someone else. So if that is the big problem that this was said in the first place, then wouldn't that energy be channeled at the person who actually said it? He's trying to portray it as though Ian is championing it, that he is trying to use this knowingly fraudulent information to push an agenda that Ethan is a monster, that does the unthinkable to his children. But when watching it, again, that's just not what he was saying, and he did outright say he doesn't believe it in the first place. He then goes into like, how is that a joke? Well, you just said that the person who left the comment Destiny was just joking, basically. He was just being a piece of shit. But he wasn't being serious, that was a goof. That doesn't make sense, man. So it was a joke when he wrote the comment, but it's not a joke when iDubbbz is trying to use it to shittily make a point. And it wasn't even making a joke about the comment itself, just more so that you weren't getting upset at Destiny for making it in the first place.
You can't accuse someone of committing a heinous crime. That's not, if they didn't, that's not free speech. That's not protected speech. It's literally not protected speech. It's actually explicitly carved out in the law as, you know, this is the legal route you take when someone defames you, right?
Ethan, of all people, should be very familiar with how defamatory lawsuits can be exploited by those with a lot of money. He was the guy that always fought on the right side of these kind of battles. And now in this case, I really think he's lost his way in that regard. What he is describing here is not even what iDubbbz did. He's talking about, you can't make these comments, that's not free speech. Destiny made the comment, man. Literally. And yet you're not going after him. You've already excused him. wrote it off as he wasn't being serious, a dickhead, and are instead going after iDubbbz, who was very shittily using it to make a very different point and even outright said he doesn't believe it, by the way. So it really feels less about the actual defaming and more about just being able to continue to, really drive the nail into iDubbbz, which is extremely unnecessary. His own community didn't agree with him when he did this. He lost members of his community for this because he was so in the wrong for it. Everyone was on your side when all of this was unfolding. So really, what else are you even trying to accomplish? He came out of that much worse, and he outright apologized for it, admitted how wrong he was for it, and everything like that eventually, which is a significantly bigger L than a legal one in the eyes of the internet, to be that wrong and that much on the wrong side of the drama. By every possible interpretation, you won here. You proved the claims were fraudulent, they were false, they're not real, and people were on your side in this whole situation here and against how iDubbbz had gone about trying to make this point. All you had to do was just leave it at that. But by making this lawsuit, you've now made a new issue out of it that is a concern and can affect other people entirely unrelated to it. And I'm honestly very surprised why Ethan can't see that. After all of the lawsuits he's been through, something like this should be very apparent how it can be used exploitatively against others, even outside of a case of this extreme degree. Ethan of 10 years ago, I think, would absolutely see that, but right now, I just think after everything that he's been through, he's just completely clouded by it and can't see that anymore. But now let's dive into the concern about how this can affect free speech or discourse online, because Ethan is talking about how he doesn't understand how it could, because this is such an extreme thing that was said that's so gross. And he's right. This is a very gross thing that was said. And if iDubbbz was pressing it as a very legitimate thing and trying to make it seem like it's true to everyone, that kind of thing, then it would make a lot more sense to go this kind of route. Because that is something like the snark community was doing with some really unhinged behavior. So that would make sense to me. But that's not what happened here, and the reason why this is concerning is because, let's say Ethan does win this lawsuit here, that then opens the door for other people to come in with less extreme shit. Yes, in this case, it is very over the top and gross. But defamatory statements aren't just this extreme level. Defamatory statements are very wide-reaching. And this being something you can point to okay, so it worked for Ethan, it can probably work for me against this guy who said this thing that actually damaged my brand. In Ethan's case, I think it'd be very hard to even prove damages in the first place. I don't know if that's something that's required by Canadian law. I have no fucking clue at all. I know they don't have the same level of free speech protections or anything like that, so maybe that's not even a requirement or whatever. But I think it would be a Herculean task to prove that H3 had suffered a reputational hit or a loss of revenue or a brand tanking because of iDubbbz stream here. Because what has often been flexed by a lot of people is how H3 has thousands upon thousands of live viewers all the time, and iDubbbz would have 100. So H3 being 100x the size of iDubbbz, it would be very hard for anyone to point to and say, what iDubbbz did here really damaged the H3 brand, and here's the proof. We lost so many members on YouTube or something. That's clearly not going to happen. But someone else absolutely could. Something that a lot of people talk about online, commentary YouTubers, I suppose will stay in that realm, is scammers. So why couldn't a scammer then utilize this same play? Okay, we can actually prove damages because they talked about, a customer's terrible experience with us, and that was defamatory, and look at how much business it cost us, and it ruined our reputation. And I think you could possibly point to Ethan's lawsuit here, should he win, as evidence look, he got a defamatory ruling in his favor after suing iDubbbz for something someone else said, so we are going to be suing this YouTuber for what this customer said that they talked about in their content that ruined our brand or took away some business. Because in a lot of commentary videos, the sources come from others, whether it's individuals or something else. So if you can sue for a reason like this and win, it does open up to exploitation from some bad actors. So yeah, while it is kind of extreme in what has happened here between iDubbbz and H3, I think you could very easily look at it and say, okay, if he can sue for what someone else said and was on his stream, why can't I sue for what someone else said that was in their content that I believe defamed me? And I just think that it does open the door to some problems. And I've seen the response is kind of split. In the commentary community, I thought it'd be unanimously, discouraged for pretty obvious reasons. It has historically always been spit upon, but because it's now against someone people don't like, iDubbbz, they're okay with it and even laughing about it, which I just don't really get. I don't know how the lesson hasn't been learned that when something gets used against someone you don't like, it doesn't mean it's only ever going to be used against people you don't like. Once that can of worms is open, shit becomes the Wild West, and it can be a problem for everybody. Like, making an exception like, yeah, ooh, not good, I've always been really against YouTubers filing, litigation against other content creators, but since it's iDubbbz, I'll be okay with it. Which I think is some pretty silly shit. I think the internet, in its first go-around with this topic, pinned the tail on the donkey. I think they were correct with the take on this topic, that being extremely litigious and going after other content creators and such with defamatory lawsuits and such is just not very good. It's the same tactics that have been used from some extremely shady companies in the past against people online, and it's just a tactic that used to unanimously leave a sour taste in the mouth of just normal people online. But now in this case, because it's against someone they don't like, they're willing to be all right with it and turn the other cheek to it. And I don't think that's right. Again, if iDubbbz truly was spreading maliciously fraudulent information of this disgusting stuff that was made in this comment, and saying like, this is real, this is true, this is awful, look at what's happening, look what he's done, that kind of thing, I would really understand it more then, because then that is very different than just normal internet beef. That is psychopath evil shit. But from what I've seen in that stream, that's not what was happening. So I really don't understand this perspective from commentary channels to treat this like it's just some kind of hoot and holler and goofy thing, let's celebrate it, point and laugh, when I think it's pretty easy to see how this could potentially be used as ammunition in some less than savory lawsuits going forward, specifically in Canada. It would obviously be like for Canadian YouTubers, but even still, it's probably best not to just have more ammunition for some bad actors to be able to exploit legally. Like, I just don't understand why, because it's happening to iDubbbz, everyone's willing to just, forget about the last, fucking 15 years of everyone knowing that this kind of thing isn't really good. So yeah, I've been yapping about this for a minute now, but I do cover these, YouTuber streamer lawsuits that occasionally pop up, the ones that I'm aware of, at least, and this one was very surprising to see. Now, like I said, I did have a conversation with both iDubbbz and Ethan, and at the end of the conversation with Ethan, he wanted to prepare a statement because I wasn't shy about letting him know that the exact way I've talked to him in our conversation would be how I'm going to talk about it publicly. And since I've made it clear I'm not in the business of just leaking private text messages, he wanted to prepare something that I would share. And I've done this in the past, sharing statements from the people that I cover in stories, so I'll do the same here as well. He said, when CPS was called on his family a year ago, the rules of engagement had completely changed. A snark community fabricated a lie that his children were crawling around in dog shit and eating it. An agent came to my home at 8 a.m. to look through my home and interview my children against their will. Investigation is now over, was determined to be unfounded. After this, he could no longer tolerate attacks on his children or attempts to break up his family. Ian was a friend of his for many years. He has been to his house, met his children. When he displayed a message on screen for over an hour stating that he's a pedophile that molests his children, carried a lot more weight than when Destiny said it. Destiny said it in a Discord chat in passing that was on screen for a few seconds. He'd never met or spoken with Destiny, and Destiny has never been to his house or met his children, has zero credibility on the issue, and made it clear that in passing chat message was never meant to be taken seriously. Ian, on the other hand, does know his family, has been to his home, and has met his children, and the fact that he exploited that closeness to forward such a heinous, unforgivable accusation forced him into action. To make matters worse, Ian has supported the call to CPS in his content deputy and openly associates with, spends time in, and celebrates the snark community from which the original CPS call came from. He believes it was Ian's intention to cause harm to his family, as he knew CPS had already visited the home and still decided to rebroadcast the accusations for over an hour on stream. He's pledged to do everything he can to hold him and anyone else who attempts to harm his family accountable in whatever way that he can. Because of the context, he believes that he has a much more viable case against iDubbbz than Destiny, and that's why he's only suing iDubbbz. Destiny also lives in USA, where defamation laws are much harder to win, versus in Canada, where iDubbbz lives. These are all the reasons that he's suing iDubbbz and not Destiny. He's chosen the legal and most proper way afforded to him that live in countries that value free speech, a lawsuit for defamation. Defamation is not protected speech. He does not have an unalienable right to say that he's a pedophile molesting his children. Accountability in this case has to be more than just internet mudslinging and jousting. He has crossed the line, and he's past the point of caring what Charlie or anyone else thinks, and he will protect his family at all costs. Now, if it wasn't clear, we didn't exactly see eye to eye on this case here in regards to this whole lawsuit situation. I believe, as is even stated in his statement, that he's targeting iDubbbz solely because the free speech laws in Canada are more lax, and it is more viable that he would win there versus in the US, where Destiny is. He's even saying that it would be harder to win that case against Destiny. So, to me, that says that if the way you win is through more lax free speech laws, then it's not really a real defamation case worth pursuing. It's you taking advantage of that lax nature of those laws to further punish the guy who you have a lot of ire towards for the previous instances of aligning with the snark community and stuff like that, as opposed to actually fighting for, this was defamatory and that. It feels very familiar for a tactic that is common with big companies to financially drain someone that they have a lot of issues with for a variety of reasons, a whole host of reasons. And in pursuing this route, it does open a whole host of problems for a lot of other people and can have far-reaching consequences should it set some kind of precedent or, set an example for others to try and follow suit. It is something that I've always advocated against, and there's nothing in all of the streams and evidence I've seen that indicates that iDubbbz was trying to push this as a true thing, using his previous relationship with Ethan as a place of credibility to try and preach to his audience that this comment is accurate. This is a legitimate claim that actually needs to be investigated. There was nothing I ever saw that gave me that indication. It was only ever Destiny made this atrocious comment that Ethan is not being very upset about and having a very different energy towards him than the others. And it was a very, very, very poorly made point using a very gross example for it, which is something iDubbbz openly admits. So anyway, I've been yapping about this for a long time now. That's really about it. So yeah. Hey, what's up? It's me again, the Rotten Tomatoes for Twitch, here to critique yet another huge change coming to Twitch. I know this is like the 10th time I made a video joking about and talking about Twitch things, but I can't help it. I'm passionate about it. I fucking stream on there daily, so obviously I want it to be the best platform it can be. So when a big change or decision is made over there, whether it's good or bad, I like to do what a high school stoner likes to do after their first hit of marijuana. Talk about it. So what we'll be talking about today is the unveiling of Twitch's new Safety Advisory Council. There may have been no E3 this year, but we still got a huge fucking announcement here thanks to Twitch. In a nutshell, this Jedi Council consists of both members of the Twitch streaming community as well as experts outside of it to weigh in on decisions made on the platform as well as potential policies going forward and changes to existing policies, making things clearer, shit like that. I'll throw my nutsack out here to be abused for a minute here by going against the grain and saying, on paper, I actually think this is a good idea. By having faces attached to decisions on the platform, people can actually feel like their voices can be heard, whereas the entire history of Twitch has just had faceless people making these decisions behind the scenes, pulling the strings on the marionettes and making them dance for these weird policies and weird favoritism. Well, now, with this council here, there are actual streamers, very popular streamers attached to it that you can communicate with and get answers from, We don't know how much power this council is going to have, which still leads to a lot of confusion, but just the fact that they're taking a step in putting faces to decisions going forward, I think is a step in the right direction and making people feel like their voices can at least be heard. But I will say, I hate the fucking name of this. The Safety Advisory Council sounds dystopian. That sounds like something out of Judge Dredd. Just fucking pull up to an apartment complex over a noise complaint. Yes, I'm here on behalf of the Safety Advisory Council. Your noise was too high, too many decibels. You've been canceled. Fucking puts a bullet in their skull. It's just not a good name. That doesn't really instill confidence in people that hear that. Now, looking at the people aboard the council, I only know two of them, Carnage and Ziz. Admittedly, I'm unfamiliar with the others, but I'm going to give Twitch the benefit of the doubt that these are good fits for their positions. But Carnage and Ziz in particular, I think are excellent fits here. I'm familiar with both their content. I actively watch and I've tuned into Ziz occasionally. And I think both of them have a very good understanding of Twitch culture, as well as understanding exactly what is and is not allowed and how to make policies more clear, as well as what policies should not even be there in the first place. As said during one of his streams about this, he's actively fighting to make sure there's not too many rules that start suffocating the creators, and I think that is the absolute best way of approaching something like this with this kind of responsibility. Now, as I said, I don't know the majority of people on that list, but I am giving them the benefit of the doubt. However, one of them in particular, named Steph, has recently shown that the power's kind of getting to them in a certain way. And I'm not trying to be rude, but it's really hard to have a positive opinion of the Safety Advisory Council right now due to the drama that she's stirring up on her own personal streams.
Can't get rid of me. Twitch is endorsing me, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm just gonna dance to your sad tears. I'm just gonna drink your tears.
This is her celebrating the fact that she's no longer subject to bans on Twitch due to her position, and I think this just lacks taste. Twitch has been a platform that's been plagued by very odd bans that have ruined lives, so for her to come out here and say that nothing will ever happen to her because of her position and rub it in the face of people who have been wronged by bans like that, I think just shows a real lack of care for the people on the platform. Now, I'm not here to humiliate or belittle Steph in any way. I already know a lot of people are going to point out that viral clip of her where she's role-playing as a deer having an orgasm on a stream. Yes, I think it's odd to broadcast that on Twitch, but it's not pertinent to what I want to talk about. And you know me, I like to joke about those odd fetishes all the time, like that person that steps on bread and ejaculates in their pants. I think that shit is just really fun to make some jokes about, but they're just that. They're harmless jokes. I never like to maliciously target someone or try and ruin someone's life over a kink or anything like that. Whereas in this case, I feel like people are going beyond just goofing around. They're genuinely trying to ruin her life over that deer clip, and I just wouldn't want to play a part in that. On a side note, before continuing though, that person that was stepping on the bread and ejaculating, they actually reached out to me like a year ago, offering to teach me how to do it properly. So they were super nice. They enjoyed the video. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So if you see me stepping on bread and coming in my pants, you know I was taught by the master. Immediately after Twitch announced that she's a member of this council, she went live and started antagonizing the broad Twitch community, in particular livestream fails. I also fucking hate livestream fails. I think that place is a cesspool. It's basically just an XQC cum dumpster. Anytime XQC moves in his chair or makes even the slightest micro expression on his face, it's like a 30-second clip that's spammed for an hour. That subreddit is literally a time capsule into old Tumblr. It's like maintain the essence, that old fucking odor of Tumblr. It has this two camps. It's like a perpetual civil war. One camp that loves fake manufactured drama and getting invested in these reality TV shows on Twitch, and this camp that pretends to hate it, but what they love is loud, screeching, jingling key clips, but they also still do love that fake drama, so then they'll come together and start upvoting all these drama things, and then they start attacking each other. It's a weird community, and no one hates livestream fails more than livestream fails community hates themselves. It's really weird. It's not a good subreddit. So I totally understand why the majority of streamers don't even like it in the first place. But what Steph has done is she's taken livestream fails and put that as the face of Twitch itself. So instead of just attacking some of the bad actors on livestream fails, she's attacking everybody on Twitch for a ton of different things.
Well, I'm just not cool with white supremacy, y'all. It's really not that. I think a lot of you gamers are actually white supremacists. Sorry. Just a fact of how I feel, which isn't a big deal.
That's such a fucked up thing to say, especially on a platform like Twitch, which is primarily composed of gamers. Not to go like 90s back of the cereal box slogan, but Twitch is literally like extreme gamer zone territory. So to outright vilify gamers by calling a lot of them white supremacists is so beyond disrespectful, And especially given your position as a member of the Safety Advisory Council, how does that make anyone feel confident about the decisions you'll make in that council going forward when you clearly already have a clear disdain for gamers on that platform, a platform that you now represent in a very high level capacity, at least judging by the announcement? So it's just very odd because you're coming across as openly hateful and proudly prejudiced.
I said a lot of people with cis white male sounding voices are here telling me that voice chat isn't a problem, and that is a fact. Y'all have voices that aren't marginalized coming in and saying, just mute, it's not an issue. Everyone faces harassment. I've heard it all. You're just repeating my like a year ago. The only way to have a level playing field at the highest level of play is to have is to not have voice chat, to not have people give up their linguistic profiles. I mean, and maybe
It was this opinion that really sparked the majority of outrage initially because she firmly believes that voice chat really shouldn't exist in the first place. Now, I want to make it clear she's in no way going to developers lobbying to have it removed or anything. She's simply sharing her opinion that she doesn't believe that it should be an integral part of games. And the majority of gamers understandably disagree because without a voice chat, what the fuck are you supposed to do with your teammates in like a game of Valorant? Use the in-game voice commands and just spam no, or in Rocket League, nice save. Like, if you don't have voice chat, you have no way of really communicating with your team to win games. But for Steph, she believes that it's an unfair advantage or disadvantage depending on the sound of the person's voice who's using the voice chat. She argues that those with a marginalized voice have to resort to blocking and muting toxic players in their lobbies, which inhibits their ability to communicate and win the games. And that's a fair point. That shit absolutely does happen. Anytime a girl talks in like a fucking Overwatch lobby or Valorant, dudes will fucking dogpile on that like they're recovering a fumble in the Super Bowl. They're either getting flirted with or just outright insulted and harassed. That absolutely is very commonplace, and you're lying to yourself if you think it's not. It is, regrettably. And not to downplay the issue, but everyone gets harassed in voice chat when it comes to like higher level play or just toxic assholes in general. It's not a problem that's exclusive to women or voices that are marginalized. In video games like that, there are just toxic assholes, and it's not just voice chat, it's everywhere. If you take away voice chat, text chat becomes extremely toxic. League of Legends has notoriously one of the most toxic communities around, and there's no voice chat there, it's only text. When I was addicted to League of Legends, I never felt so fucking bad about myself because of that voice chat, or text chat. So it's not an issue with just voice chat in general, it's just there's assholes in the world. Unfortunately, that's just what it is. But luckily, thanks to the incredible advancements in technology, we found the solution. We have the answer. It's called just muting the assholes, blocking them. You don't have to hear these things. You can always block people that are just outright rude and nasty. So I understand her opinion, and I do agree that the harassment in voice chat, especially for women, is pretty fucking nuts these days, but you can just not hear it by muting them. And yeah, it does suck having to mute your teammates, but if the alternative is just taking away voice chat entirely, it's better than the alternative. Now again, I think there's nothing wrong with having this opinion from her, and I don't think it's means to just outright harass and berate her. The problem is the way that she approaches getting these ideas across and her beliefs. She's very standoffish, and anyone who disagrees with her, she immediately labels as either a white supremacist or an overly privileged cis-white male. She seems to enjoy attacking the community she's supposed to be representing and looking out for, like with the first clip I showed, dancing about her immunity from Twitch because they now formally endorse her into this council, and she's saying how she's just going to drink the tears of the people who are upset about the things she says. So, and she bans everyone in her chat that happens to disagree. Now don't get me wrong, she does ban actual douchebags that deserve it, but she also just bans people that are asking simple questions or just happen to disagree, but not just banning them, labeling them some very nasty titles, which I just think is wrong. Asmongold said it best when he said, this kind of behavior really shouldn't be accepted from someone at that position, because imagine if someone said something different that wasn't cis-white male, you know? What if someone said, gays are ruining the voice chat, so we need to remove voice chat? Instead of saying cis-white males are ruining voice chat, what if it was replaced by gays? Whoever said that would be immediately removed from that platform and permabanned, because that wouldn't be accepted. And rightfully so. Nobody should be judged by their skin color or sexual orientation, attacked for their skin color or sexual orientation, put into these groups and vilified because of their skin color or sexual orientation. Racism is bad. Racism, discrimination, hating people for choices they make with their own body, all of it, bad. Very bad. But because she's the one saying it about cis white males, for some reason it's not only accepted, but it is endorsed by Twitch, which I think, and most streamers and most people on the platform think, is not a good thing and sets a very fearful precedent, and is immediately kind of dividing the community about safety advisory versus the community, which is the absolute worst thing, because on paper it seems like the council was supposed to be a way to bridge this gap where we can finally have real communication between Twitch power and just the people on the platform. But unfortunately, there's already a divide being caused. But I am still genuinely hopeful that the council will be something positive for the platform, because this is a step in the right direction, at least the idea and the theory of it, by having actual members of the community representing the community's interest in a higher capacity, I think is a great step. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, and that's it. So yeah. Yeah, I know what you like. You're so naughty. I've got exactly what you've been begging for. Something super goofy. This shit is so silly it'll have you dressing up like a clown just to fit the vibe. A popular online tournament circuit for Apex Legends permanently banned an entire team from competing in any of their future events because of teabagging. The new video game boogeyman, this teabagging menace. But in this case, it wasn't even like the classic scientific definition of a teabag where you go over and crouch up and down on someone's body after you've killed them. What happened here is it was a teammate that teabagged his other teammate just as a joke amongst each other. And it didn't matter. The tournament organizer didn't care. He made a giant statement. Not only were they going to be banned from competing in their tournaments going forward, but he puffed out his chest and exuded some real hall monitor energy by proudly proclaiming that no matter the context, even if it's a teammate teabagging another teammate for fun, it's still toxic and will not be tolerated in a professional setting. Doesn't matter. And then he goes on to say, just because you have a keyboard to hide behind doesn't mean that we'll accept it. It was so embarrassing. Just made an absolute fool out of himself and the entire tournament that they run. I'm going to go ahead and show the clip now because I'd like to get into it a bit more. But this is impressive timing because I just recently made a video a little under 2 weeks ago talking about that massive Twitter thread that claimed teabagging in a video game is the same as real-world sexual assault. Teabagging online is sexual assault. It was absolute insanity. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because now we have yet another case of teabagging being very contentious here. And I just have to wonder what the fuck is going on with the world right now, where online crouching up and down is apparently a huge deal. People always thought that in the future, wars would be fought on the battlefield with drones and robots. But the truth is very far from that. It seems our wars are now fought online with our digital nutsacks.
Twitch, the Terra Day, appreciate you sticking around. Yo, okay, Dilly is, Crazy Penguinz is disqualified. I'm not taking that at all. Oh, he went over to the dead body that they just killed, and he went teabagged on the fucking death box.
You can see his soul immediately fill with rage as he noticed not one, not two, but 3 pumps on top of the death box, and that was 3 pumps too many. He broke the rule, a cardinal sin. So on the spot, immediately just disqualifies them. And then the next part here is Dilly, the player that he was spectating, proving that the death box that he teabagged was his teammate. Because he thought he could clear up the confusion, like, no, I wasn't, like, being toxic. This is my teammate. We were joking. We were having fun. But it didn't matter. He didn't care.
Absolutely not. Will not tolerate that. Literally goes in fucking out of his way to jump on a death box to teabag it. Don't think so. I have a fucking pen and pad. Yeah, so we're here to create a safe space for all gamers, everybody, and that kind of stuff will not be tolerated. Yes, we will not take that. They're trying to say that that was his own teammate. Yeah, they're saying that he teabagged his own teammate. So it doesn't matter, folks. Like, when you're in a tournament, you're in a professional tournament. You can't be doing it.
Super interesting and delusional perspective here that's just outright wrong. teabagging is still present in professional esports, in pretty much all of them that have a teabagging mechanic. In fact, most recently at the ALGS, which is another Apex tournament, it's the biggest Apex tournament, there were instances of teabagging. And you know what didn't happen? Someone fucking charging the stage and flipping over their table, throwing the monitors to the side and saying, "You're banned, disqualified." No one made a big deal out of it. And do you know why? Because it's really not that big of a deal. But somehow this struck a chord so deep inside of him that he went on this brief mention of how it's like compromising the safe space that he's trying to create with the tournament, which is another really weird perspective. Because, I mean, what are you, like their mom? You popping your tit out so they can suckle? Like, what do you mean you're trying to provide a safe space for all gamers here? It's a video game, and it's a tournament that you are allowing people to compete in. That's already a space for people that feel comfortable enough to compete. Like, they don't need further protection from you. It's not like this team went on Twitter and started harassing them and sending them shitty message or anything. They kept everything localized to that tournament, kept everything in the game, and they only teabagged each other. Like, there was no toxicity being had in the first place. So how in any way did a teammate teabagging his friend, who was also on his team, compromise that safe space? I'd completely understand if they were being like rude assholes to the other teams, you know, insulting them or just being generally shitty to them. Then yeah, I can understand you being like, we won't tolerate that, get it out of here. Or I could even understand it if going into the tournament you had a rule that said no teabagging, the no teabagging clause, and they broke it here. This is a huge stretch, but even then I'd at least almost understand it, because I guess it would be like a technical breaking of that rule, but you don't even have that most basic rule in place. This does nothing to ruin the safe space that you're creating here, and I don't even really know what you mean by a safe space for gamers to compete in, because it's not like you do anything special. You're hosting a tournament for them to compete in, so the players that are playing there already feel comfortable enough to go there and play. Now, if things got out of control where, like I mentioned, they're sending nasty messages or whatever, then that would be a problem where you would want to stand up for your players and, you know, make a stand for them. But that didn't happen, and that hasn't happened.
That. And something people need to really understand. Yeah, so like you can't do that. Just like I'm telling you're going to tell me teabagging my own teammate is toxic. All right, so then this is where we're going to shut the lobby down at this point, because I'm not going to get into that one, because absolutely it is. Unfortunately, yes, disqualified, because yes, you cannot do that, folks. Sportsmanship, right? You cannot go and teabag your own teammates in any organized sports. So why would you come into an organized tournament and go and do something like that?
What a horrible, horrible comparison. You can't teabag in any professional organized sport, so why do it here? Bro, professional organized sports are not video games. You're not going to be able to teabag your golf opponent. Like, if you get a birdie and he gets a bogey, you can't, like, push him to the ground and start dropping nuts on him. Like, obviously, there's not going to be any sporting examples of someone teabagging the opponent. That's such a dumb comparison to try and make. This is a video game where you can do that, and it's not that big of a deal if you do. And you're talking about sportsmanship. This wasn't, like, not sportsmanlike. This was a teammate having fun with another teammate. Is the purpose of your tournament to have fun, or is it to go in there and be fucking miserable and be disciplined by you, the authority that rules it with an iron fist or whatever? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with your tournament if you're going to make it this cutthroat with how you enforce what you believe to be a toxicity violation? This is outrageous. It is absolutely outrageous. It has nothing to do with sportsmanship. I think what happened here is you thought that Dilly teabagged an opponent, and you thought that people might be upset about that, so you tried to get out ahead of it and made a big hoopla about it, but once it was revealed it was his teammate, you had to stay on that hill. You no longer could backpedal because you'd already dug yourself into that hole and backed yourself into that corner. And now you just look super dumb because of it. You should have just said after it was revealed to be his teammate, "Oh, I misunderstood. I don't really want toxicity in my tournaments, so just, understand that going forward and respect that. Just no teabagging from here on out." That would have been a lot more respectable. I'm sure Dilly and the whole squad would have had no problem with that after the confusion was cleared up. But what you did here was the worst possible approach to handling this situation. And you couldn't even give an actual argument for how Dilly teabagging his teammate was actually toxic. At no point did you actually explain it. When challenged, you just said, "Okay, I'm not going there. Time to shut down the lobby." You didn't really go into detail on why you believed it was still toxic after you learned that it was his teammate.
So no, you cannot teammate bag your own teammates, or anybody for that matter. Do not teabag teammates in the future. Just because you can hide behind this and get to use this little thing, you're not going to do that in the real world, so don't do that.
Oh, big shot here. Big muscle, masculine, tough guy. You can hide behind these keyboards, but you wouldn't say it to my face. What a great argument. I don't even know what that has to do with anything, by the way. It's not like Dilly and them were talking shit. They were trying to understand, trying to get clarification, like, can you explain how me teabagging my friend who's on my team is toxic? And I guess for some reason he took that as fighting words. Oh, so you want to fight then? Keyboard warrior, of course. Get out of here. Banned forever. Horrible. Horrible, horrible all around. Let's go ahead and see what Dilly said, because he made a couple posts about it, obviously, because he was upset about it. And as he lays out here, it's not in the rules. Like, there's nothing about teabagging in the rules. So even if he was trying to, like, strictly enforce a poorly written rule, it's not even there to begin with. They just had absolutely no grounds for this overreaction. So yeah, horrible ban here, awful decision, and it makes the entire organization, or the entire tournament here, look really, really silly. That's about it. So yeah. A couple months ago, one of the best journalists on the planet, who also happens to be a YouTuber, got his house firebombed due to his investigations into a large network of corruption in Australia. I really do mean those words earnestly. Journalism is in such a poor spot right now. Modern journalism has about as much respect as the bronies did during the early 2010s. You remember that community of adults that used to jerk off to My Little Pony? In fact, I would argue that people have more respect for them than a lot of journalists these days, and rightfully so. It's an industry that thrives off of just feeding shit into the mouths of everyone that happens to come across their headlines. They're either writing meaningless articles, not focusing on anything important, writing blatant lies about shit, or just generating their own controversies to farm rage bait clicks from people just to drive traffic to their site. I'm sure you're tired of me whining about this one example I'm about to use because I've used it like 20 fucking times now, but I just think it's perfect to encapsulate what I'm talking about. There is an article Kotaku published proudly where it was all about the author mishearing a lyric in a Super Smash Bros. Song and thinking they heard a slur, so they wrote a whole article attacking Nintendo for it and demanding an apology and a response. Like, that is just the perfect example for what I'm talking about. I'm already getting lost in the sauce talking about this again and ranting. The reason I'm even mentioning it is because Friendly Jordies does real, meaningful journalism. One of the very few in the field that does. He's a political commentator, a YouTuber, and a comedian, and he combines all of these into extremely hard-hitting investigations into corruption in the government, and he presents all of the information factually, with sources, with evidence, and delivers it in extremely entertaining ways. So it's palatable to anyone. Even if you're not in Australia, it gets you educated and it entertains you. It is just the perfect blend of everything you could ever want from a journalist, really. And for all of his hard work, his life gets threatened. He is doing all of this at great personal risk to his own safety. His fucking house got firebombed, and the list of suspects that it could be is super long. He came back recently after a 2-month break on YouTube to update everyone on what's going on with that whole situation, and he laid out the entire timeline of events for all of the enemies he's made that could have been responsible for this firebomb attack on his house. This attempt on his life could have been made by a lot of very powerful people that Jordies has exposed and dropped very important information on over the years, and I highly, highly recommend watching his entire video going over all of it. Of course, the link is going to be in the description below. I'd like to briefly give you a summation of some of the possible suspects here in this little murder mystery whodunit. He compared this whole situation to Knives Out, and he's absolutely right. This is a wild web of fucking supervillains that are after him, potentially. He's got like the entire fucking Naruto Akatsuki hunting him down. And by far the biggest clown, but also the biggest, most powerful person in that group is John Barilaro, the former Deputy Premier of New South Wales, whom has come after Jordies many times and even cites Jordies as the reason he stepped down from his position, the most powerful position in New South Wales, because of their YouTube beef and Jordies' content insulting him and exposing him. John Barilaro has some very scary connections that could have been used here that led to this whole situation, and Friendly Jordies does highlight all of these possibilities. But of course, he's far from the only one. Jordies has exposed corruption at every level, so the list of enemies is longer than the terms of service to signing up to iTunes. But I would like to highlight 2 others. One of them is an extremely powerful gambling company that Jordies has talked about and dropped very important information regarding. And another one is an organized crime ring. I'm not going to go too in-depth on those 2 yet. I highly recommend you watch Jordy's video talking about why these are very possible suspects in this firebombing on his residence. But I would like to show you a few clips from the video, mainly ones that are poking fun at John Barilaro, going over the history between the two, and just kind of pointing and laughing at this absolute goober. But it is a very serious situation, and somehow Jordy's has unbreakable, indomitable spirit and will. Because even though his life has been threatened, and keep in mind, that firebombing, it was twice. At first, they firebombed his neighbor thinking it was his house, but when they realized it wasn't his house, they came back and fucking firebombed him again. So, his life, very real danger, and he still is making the decision to stay and fight against corruption. There is nothing more admirable or brave. Like, he is exactly what journalists should aspire to be. And he still somehow delivers content that is so entertaining and so good. I don't know how he does it without just like chewing on his fucking fingernails in fear every day. The absolute goddamn Australian hero.
In what I now know was a premeditated attack that at best was intended to terrify me and at worst was intended to kill me.
I would say it was probably intended to kill you. Like, throwing a firebomb at the house and actually setting the house on fire is less of like an intimidation tactic and more of an attempted murder, I would say. But I feel like in his position, he's got to be very careful with the words he chooses because he's constantly in the crosshairs of every single authority in Australia because he exposes so much corruption. But yeah, this is very much a step above an intimidation tactic. An intimidation tactic is if you had like someone come to your house dressed as a construction worker, but then it was actually a lawyer serving you like a fucking lawsuit. That's an intimidation tactic. This is some like hitman shit.
The night that happened, I was supposed to be sleeping here. I didn't even have smoke alarms, so there's a very good chance that if I was, I could have ended up like the content you're watching right now. Fire. But I wasn't here because that week I was performing my live show in Melbourne and I forgot my keys while I was down there. So there, criminals outwitted. It reminds me of that quote.
He's 2 steps ahead.
Then the enemy certainly can't anticipate our future actions. So I was sleeping somewhere else that night.
That's such a beautiful line too. That's always the cliche on how they beat like an overpowered villain in an anime or some shit who can see into the future. We'll have no plan and we'll wing it. Unpredictability is our best friend.
Here, and it is too big of a jump to go from beating a cameraman in public to firebombing a house.
That is a big jump, but you're also giving him a lot of credit here with beating a cameraman. This cameraman is fending off this overgrown baby with ease. Like, this is pretty sad for John Barilaro here. It's like that, like an older brother putting their hand on the head of the younger brother as he's throwing punches that are missing. And he's holding like a 30-pound camera on his shoulder.
John Barilaro had this palatial multi-million-dollar estate that he Airbnb'd as a side hustle to his other gig, being the leader of a state. This is the dumbest thing you could do, right? Like, especially since the other half of the time, it's not Airbnb, that's where he lives. So we thought, wouldn't it be good if we film a video on the history of all the shitty things he's done, but film it at that Airbnb? Because as you've probably gathered, or haven't because you're that dumb, I'm filming at your estate. And I want you to be the first to know that I f***ed in both your guest houses. Oh, Stooge, we tracked the video. It's coming from inside the
I don't know
house.
if that's true or not, but that's such a fucking flex. This guy actually sounds unbelievably stupid. Like, legitimately, observably stupid. I am believing 100% that his feelings got hurt because Friendly Jordies made fun of him, and he probably cried. Like, he actually probably did cry and then resigned. That's crazy. They came on his pillows. Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, I wasn't there to watch him have sex and pound cheeks at John Barilaro's Airbnb or anything. I'm just going to take his word for it. And even if he didn't, he planted the seed of doubt in his head forever now. The guy that makes fun of him also fucked in his beds. So either way, that's a W.
John was demanding the police conduct a bug sweep of the property. Something that would cost the taxpayers $10
And a blacklight,
despite
please.
the fact we
We need to
paid
know if he
almost
actually
that
fucked
much
here.
to stay at the property. Just imagine how stupid and entitled it is to be deputy premier and lease one of your primary residences out to anyone. I never considered doing this before, but say a property developer wants a favour, they could very easily get material to blackmail you.
Hey, I want to pop in here real quick once again to drive home the absolute insanity of this situation. John Barilaro, the most powerful man in New South Wales, was listing his actual primary estate as an Airbnb when he wasn't staying there. That is levels of stupid that not even Saints Row was able to tickle. John Barilaro has the brain of a child still struggling to fit a square into a square hole. I don't know what could have even led to him believing that was a decent idea at all. Like, maybe it's 30, 40 years of eating paint chips and boofing asbestos. Like, I don't know. Like, how he could have thought in his position that listing his actual residency as an Airbnb was smart. As Geordie's does list, there was a lot worse shit that could have come from this. Shit could have been planted in his estate that would have got him in huge legal trouble, blackmail, it could have been bugged. Like, there was so much that could have happened here because he lists it as a fucking Airbnb. Honestly, John's lucky Geordie's was the one to do this because it could have been so much worse. He got off easy by the only thing scandalous happening in his estate was Geordie's slamming ham in his bed. Like, he could have found himself in much, much, much bigger trouble.
In another video, I called Barilaro up and attempted to ask him about allegations surrounding him and extramarital affairs.
Turns out, John's intimate relationships would eventually come under scrutiny
Oh, no.
in a hearing concerning his boss's intimate
John.
relationships, but that's a story for another day.
I didn't know this at the time, but these videos caused John's office to contact the New South Wales Police Force just days after their release, specifically the Counter-Terrorism and Special Tactics Command.
God, what a flex. You grilled a man's cheeks so hard that he called in the Counter-Terrorism and Special Tactics Command. Fucking Jack Bauer had to be put on your case because you bullied this guy's feelings so hard. Jesus Christ. Now I think he fucked someone that's not his wife. Now, I mean, I know nothing about him or the case, but now because he called in fucking CTU, the Counter-Terrorism Unit, now I think he absolutely cheated on his wife. He went too hard to prove he didn't. Now I feel like he's covering something up. You see, you gotta, there's a fine line between, like, a proper response and an overkill. And when you reach overkill, you're basically already guilty. Oh, no, John.
The defamation lawyers draft up this absolutely
He's a prime
schizophrenic
messiah.
letter detailing all of John's grievances with the videos I made, including that I called him a greasy little scrotum. He needed
That
to
was
clear
too
the
far.
record on that one. Let everyone know that's not true. Go by, and they were pretty quiet. Unbeknownst
Seeing
to us,
insults
the
in
police
writing on a
hearing
legal
is
document is
surveilling us
crazy.
On behalf of a guy that we exposed and made fun of.
Oh no.
So we've been served. And what they gave us, in my honest opinion, is another whiny crock of shit. That was.
Does he
not
actually have to...
filled with-
So he's been sued a million fucking times. Does he actually ever have to even defend himself, or does it get thrown out pretty quickly? Because this man has collected more lawsuits than I have Pokemon cards at this point, from the feelings he's hurt. Yeah, he's had to defend a few times. Okay. Because, like, I've seen the sheer number of them, and it is overwhelming. But I also know quite a few of them get thrown out. Like, even in the description of this one is being thrown out. So I was just wondering if he ever even had to actually go defend himself, or if they eventually just drop it.
Then on the 4th of June 2021, my producer Christo was walking back from uni.
Oh,
She's already
I know
planning
this
on
one.
meeting our lawyer Mark that day, so he had the document.
Yeah, this was a big clip when it came out.
They're giving away evidence to try to run away with it. Yeah?
What's happening? They're just fighting him.
Run off with evidence. Okay? Who are you doing this? You're Jesus Christ. Come on, Colby. Where is it? Film this. I am. Make sure you don't like film it. This is bizarre. This is not Australia. Yeah, it's Mark Davis.
Christo was arrested by the Terror Police, specifically the Fixated Persons Unit, charged with 4 counts of stalking and intimidation. So we're now facing criminal charges and a defamation suit.
The guy looks like he got... Well, I mean, in defense of John Barilaro, he literally did kind of get cucked by extension. Because this fucking idiot put his personal residence up as an Airbnb, so Friendly Jordies went and had sex there. Like, his estate got cucked. So of course he's going to be sad forever. I'll briefly give a little context here. Jordy's producer got arrested on completely bogus dog shit by the goddamn fucking counter-terrorist unit, like super soldiers meant to actually go after like terrorists and shit. All over fucking hurt feelings and Jordy's and his team exposing corruption. It's an absolute affront to God. It is just downright wrong and fucked up what happened to Jordy's, his team, and everyone involved here. And that clip you saw is only a brief section of that whole arrest, which was brutal. Like, they roughed him up for no reason. Like, all of it is just foul.
They end up withdrawing the application and paying both Christo and my legal costs of over $20,000.
Hey,
but Christo's
attaboy.
criminal charges still hang over him, and my defo case is still ongoing. During this time, Barilaro also decided to publicly announce his intention to resign from politics, basically saying, I forced him to resign.
The defamation case definitely playing a big part of this.
God, that's so good.
I don't know how many of you can endure what I've endured on online. I feel for young men and women, young boys and girls that get bullied on social media. I feel for them because as a
Bro, you are literally the most powerful person in the region, and you're crying about YouTubers making fun of you so much that you're quitting your job. That is the weakest, softest shit of all time. Actual 14-year-olds get bullied harder than you do, and you know what they do? Continue on and move forward. You're the fucking most powerful politician in the region, and you curl up into the little fetal position suckling your thumb because a YouTuber called you a greasy scrotum. That is wild. That is fucking wild. Holy shit. You know what? I actually don't even think it's the mean words that Jordy says against him. I really think when Jordy's fucked at his house because this stupid idiot put his Airbnb or his actual home up for the Airbnb, I think that's what broke him. I think that, like, actually broke his whole soul. I think that was just, like, this big eureka moment where it's like, wow, I'm a fucking idiot. And he couldn't handle the realization. Like, the self-reflection was too much. Overwhelming.
So my legal team launches an application
Holy shit,
to
that's
strike
Galaxy
out that
Brain.
claim, opposed again by Barilaro, who fights tooth and nail to keep that claim in and keep his special protections that prevent his own words from being examined in court. And guess what? We lose. The judge rules that it would be more unfair to deprive Barilaro of the right to vindicate his reputation.
What? What is that
Than
stance?
to make it impossible
That's just
for me
blatant
to
corruption.
defend myself. So I'm basically stuck in...
That needs to be highly scrutinized ASAP. That is so wild. Holy shit. Imagine still being bound by a 1700s ruling to protect a politician from saying something stupid in Parliament. He literally said he can defend himself, but not you. I know.
In late December of 2021, I released a video detailing that I had found an Ashley Madison account linked to John Barilaro's email address and personal details. You know the website that had the slogan,
That's so
"Life
good.
is short, have an affair." It was hacked a few years ago.
Yes,
I swear to God.
that was
as with
huge.
The rest of this saga, you couldn't make this up.
That I can't wait for the reveal, but I just have to once again chime on that. With that Ashley Madison hack, I don't know how many of you remember that. That caused like actual hysteria for maybe like a week. Like on Facebook, like the old gentlemen, they were breaking down like, how could this have happened? The internet is a secure place. My life is ruined. I can't believe it. Like absolutely having this nuclear meltdown because all of their shit was now exposed. It was amazing. It was fucking amazing. Ashley Madison was a place where married men went for cheating on their wife or something. That was the whole shtick. That was the whole basis of the site.
Him because when cameramen went to film him one night regarding this scandal, this happened.
I wonder if that was the woman he met on Ashley Madison or if it was his wife. There's really no telling. Oh, this is the cameraman.
It was a long
come on
and...
Please. The cameraman wins this. John took the most damage. John was the one that hit the blast zone here. Cameraman's got 30 pounds of fucking iron on him. And he is still just manhandling John with one arm.
Couldn't work for a while, so we're now using our legal fund to pay for a legal action against John Barilaro on behalf of the camera.
Let's go. That's so good.
Days ago, John's charges were dropped on the grounds of mental health.
How is that an excuse? Wait, what? Does that work in Australia? So let's say assault and battery, whatever. Like you show evidence like, hey, this is really taking a toll on my mental health. Like I'm really stressed about this, and then be like, oh my god, we're so fucking sorry. Holy shit. Okay, we'll drop the case, please. Take all the time you need to recover from the mental burden of this whole ordeal. Oh my god, wow. Is that just like something you can actually do? Like obviously assault charges are going to be mentally draining, especially to the super sensitive goofball Barilaro. But is that a real defense? Like, my mental health is suffering from this, please drop it. And they'll be like, oh, yes. Well, now that you've said that. It's like in Pirates of the Caribbean with parlay. If you shout parlay, they just have to stop everything. No, not a thing. He's just super corrupt. Okay, thank God. I'm happy to hear that. Well, I mean, I'm not happy to hear about the corruption, but I'm glad to hear this isn't like a real tactic you can employ.
Executive Director of large Sydney property development company Coronation Property Co. In August last year, we released an investigation into this developer, which detailed never before published links between them and one of the most violent crime organisations in all of Australian history, the Alameddine crime family, who are in no way suspects in the firebombing. No, not them. I'm sure they all have very credible alibis.
Wow, that's terrifying.
That Andy DeHaas, the now former enough for Clubs New South Wales to bring a private prosecution against Troy and I. So now I've made even more enemies. The gambling lobby and anyone that would use them to launder money. And Clubs New South Wales rejected him. By the way, this came out on the same day John was saying in court that he was too mentally ill to face his assault charges, but well enough to run Clubs New South Wales, one of the most scrutinised jobs in the country right now.
Well, the thing is, like, assault charges are a scary thing. That's like a mental... ewy. Like, that's yucky. Like, that doesn't make me feel good. But being in charge of a massive gambling company, that's a yippee kind of feeling. Like, that's two very different sides of, like, the mental spectrum here. So I can totally understand him not wanting to go to court to face the assault charges. That is very stressful. This is pleasure. This is fun. So I get it. I get it, John.
To have me thrown in jail, the 7th richest man in Australia threatening to sue me, numerous other property developers are dodgy bears. I have a longer enemies list than Richard Nixon, so despite having my suspicions, I'm still not completely sure as to who done it. But enough of listing enemies, it's now time for my friends list. First of all, sorry to my neighbours and landlord, and future apology to whoever finds my corpse. It's going to be messy. I'm not going down without a fight. Big thank you, boy.
That's like actually fucking terrifying. Like, he's making light of it, but the enemies that he has listed here are actually fucking horrifying. Like, I can't believe he's still staying in Australia, honestly. I really can't. So, for those that don't remember the situation, I'll quickly let you know. His house got firebombed, but it was actually the second attempt. So they initially firebombed his fucking neighbors, thinking it was his house. And then when they realized it wasn't his house that they fucking firebombed, they came back to try and finish the job. And like he mentioned, the house didn't even have smoke alarms, so like he literally probably would have just died if he was actually home at the time. Because it would have been when he was asleep. And the enemies he's listed here and their connections are very serious. I don't know how he's he's sitting here and being like okay about it and lucid. What a man's man. The problem as well is people who hear real journalism but don't like the message and reject it. See, like, I don't really subscribe to that belief, because if you look at some of, like, the real journalists that do great work like Jordy's, they are very well received by actual people, not politicians and not the elite. Like, that's how you know it's the sign of, like, good journalism. I never really see pushback when you're met with, like, a real journalist.